We're going to wrap up the ROSTERMANIA. It's officially over. There's still some questions remaining. What's happening to Simple? Where did Cloud9 go? Why did Spinks wreck himself? Why did Perfecto wreck himself? We're going to talk about all of that. ROSTERMANIA. The last time we were covering ROSTERMANIA, things were still up in the air about several players, and that's why we had to speculate about some of the stuff because we didn't have confirmation. So at the end, we're going back now. Cast your minds back 2 weeks. We're going back to the end of December, and we're going to go right the way through where we are right now. It's probably going to take a few hours, but that's fine. Let's start here. One of the saddest stories, if you are a FaZe fan, is that Rops has officially been released. Remember, he was released on a free transfer. Now, we all knew where he was going to go. It was leaked he was going Vitality. Vitality were putting all these little cheeky tweets out on social media alluding to it. And obviously, his contract had expired. And so this was the official confirmation that Rops was going to be out. And you can see FaZe actually did a really cool video for him to when he left. And I have to say this, and I hate saying this because I've been critical of FaZe down the years. FaZe actually do continue to sort of impress me at times. And that is the way that they handle the sort of storytelling around the CS team. Like a lot of organizations we've criticized, you know, when they sign a player, what do? They take their fucking head from another, not their literal head, but, you know, they Photoshop it out of another photo of them playing for another team, and then they whack it on top of, like, their jersey with a body that clearly isn't theirs. They say, welcome, and that's about it. And when they leave, they say benched. They don't do anything. Maybe a week later, you get the video because they didn't have the foresight to edit the video in advance, or they don't have a staff member that's just going to do those things super quick, like Griff does for me. Right? They just don't. So this was kind of cool.
So far in CS, I've definitely accomplished all the goals that I've set before. I'm never going to say all my goals because I think you always want to have a new one. It does get harder and harder once you get past certain stuff. Now you got to do it just all over again.
Sky is the limit.
Yeah, he can win almost everything one more time if he wants to.
He is gonna end his career at some point being one of the best lurks ever had in the game. He's sitting at peak years now, where with all the experience of, like I said, slump, winning tournaments, losing tournaments, he can become a very legendary player of the game.
I haven't lost my love for the game. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I mean, we as CS players, like, we have played this game for like at least the same amount of time like you sleep in your life. I want to be remembered as having an impact on the development of the scene, the game, the players itself, have an impact on everything.
And there you go, and everybody cried because it was sad. But one thing I do want to add to this is there was a strange thing that happened, because if you remember on the last episode, we had Temper from FaZe was ultimately saying, like, he wanted more firepower. And Rops actually responded to that, which is kind of cool. Also, by the way, I'm not going to play the whole thing. So on top of that little thing that they did, they also did a full YouTube video, which is like 4 minutes and 15. That was just a clip of it. Everyone's interviewed. It's got loads of highlights and stuff. It's obviously got the Zoomer ADHD subtitles because you have to have that now. I'm even doing shorts now, and you have to have that. But anyway, you can go watch it. It was a nice little touch, and that's what I mean. You know, FaZe, yeah, they're a terrible org. They're everything that's wrong with esports in many ways. But then they'll occasionally surprise you with just a little bit of forethought, because that's all it really takes in this industry. All you have to do is just give a little bit of a shit and about your job and about your team and about your image, and occasionally you can do good work. Who knew? But anyway, so there was this stuff about FaZe Temper, and he said Rops had come to us, said that he wanted more firepower, and we couldn't get more firepower because it just, wasn't available, and so that's why Rops is leaving. We couldn't really do too much about it. Now, Rops tweeted, and it's sort of rare, but it's becoming a bit more common that he gets involved with this type of stuff on social media. But he said, regarding the clip from Temper's stream, it isn't true. The speculations about roster and timelines are wrong. The word firepower has not exited my mouth when I have talked to the team or management. I stay professional on and off the server. There hasn't been any drama or falling out with people. I love Tommy and I had a few calls with him recently. Everyone from us knows that this doesn't portray the truth, which people assume it to be. Now, I can go either way on this, because on the one hand, you have co-founder, co-owner of FaZe, Temper, wouldn't be like a fucking member, an OG member of FaZe, to spout absolute bullshit to A, excuse their shortcomings, and B, farm clout, farm likes, farm engagement. That being said, I didn't get that read from that clip. It felt like he was almost a bit annoyed and tetchy that he was being asked why Rops was leaving, while there he was trying to play aimbots and play music that got got my VOD muted. On the other hand, I can also see Rops has been very pissed off with a lot of public perceptions around him. I don't think he's liked getting criticism for the first time in his career. I said this when I was hosting the Major. Rops didn't really turn up until the playoffs, and he's been cruising by for the most part of the year, probably knowing he's eventually going to leave and he's going to run down his contract, which is fine. The phoning it in isn't fine. But he's immune to community criticism because the community like him so much, because he's a nice guy and he's got a Valve bio video and all of that other stuff. And again, maybe it's overplayed. Maybe he hasn't really been phoning it in. Maybe it's a dip in performance. But you can see little things that aren't like him, like saying he gets annoyed about the Porsche being mentioned and annoyed about people speculating about his form. And so it's just as likely that he did ask for more firepower. Could be using the semantic argument of going, I never said firepower, but he could have said like, oh, we need to get better players in, or Frozen's dog shit, or whatever it might be, right? Which, by the way, not true, of course. It could have been any of those. And he's saying now, like, guys, don't let me go out like that. Don't let me go out taking all the flack from the fans. And obviously, when it was officially announced, Carrigan did a really cool tweet. Rain did a really cool tweet. Brokey did a really cool tweet. Frozen did a really cool tweet. They all came out in lockstep and did that. Temba hasn't come out and contradicted this in any way. But I could see it both ways. I could see him being pissed off that, or why is a co-owner leaking that shit publicly? I don't know. You can take your pick on that one. But I thought because we highlighted the Temper clip last time, it was worth bringing up that Rops did say that absolutely wasn't true. Anyway, so at this point, on the 31st of December, Rops was in free agency. Ooh, where will he go? Next up, there was this news. This one took me by surprise for more ways than one. This was the news that Gaming Gladiators release a team. I didn't know they had a team. I didn't know Gaming Gladiators were active in CS. I totally forgot about them. They were obviously doing another TSM, aka Team Sticker Money swing of the bat. You know, bosh, let's try and get it. But you can see it had some of the old ecstatic guys. It had Roy and Nikodos in there, and now they're all just in free agency. And as we'll get to, some of these players have ended up in other places. I don't really have too much to say about this. I think personally, it kind of just there's nothing to say because I can't remember them qualifying for anything meaningful or doing anything meaningful. They just sort of were there, and you can't really afford for that in this day and age. I will add that bailing out now, again, shows Gaming Gladiators are another org that just aren't committed to this life, because 2025 is the year you can climb the rankings with like clever selection of which events you go to, and all you have to do is maintain a consistent presence for 2025, and you've got a chance of getting to some big events. And then if you do well at those events, you got a chance of getting invited to more and more events moving forward if you can maintain your Valve ranking. But yeah, we will see. People are asking, did Vorberg go from coach to agent? I think he certainly is working with an agency called Uncore. We talked about them on the last stream because they were pushing Hooksy and how big sad it is that Hooksy can't get a team anymore, which is crazy because everyone in the scene says he's the best IGL. He's already up there, so he's already up there as one of the all-time greats. So why is no one signing him? I don't know. We will see. But yes, Vorberg was a coach, now an agent. Think he still wants to be a coach, might even still be a coach. Think he could be like some sort of coach agent, double agent, who knows? what's going on there. Anyway, Gaming Gladiators are released. Yeah, whatever. Who knew? Who knew? Another bit of sad news. One of the revelations of the major were the Ukrainian team Passion. Oh, we loved them. We loved Passion. Why did we love Passion? Well, first of all, they played a really cool style of Counter-Strike, very aggressive, got up in people's faces. In the best of ones, they got upset, beat Team Spirit, etc. But what they really did was they played this super aggressive, in-your-face, trading style of Counter-Strike that was really fun to watch. And of course, for obviously commentators and analysts and people on the desk, they're called Passion, right? I think Harry had a good line when they said something like, you might, I'm going to fuck it up, I'm butchering this, Harry, sorry mate, but he said when they beat Spirit, I think he said, you know, you might have spirit but you don't have passion, or you know, something like that. It was good anyway, it was good. It's better when Harry does it, if we're being honest, but that's because Harry's a professional and not just some old man in a bedroom. But anyway, we loved them, and they had some good players, and I was saying, I hope these guys can stay together and maybe get to a few more tournaments. After all, they're meant to be decently funded. We all know they've got Zinchenko from Arsenal as their owner. Should be fine, right? But no, apparently they're getting broke apart, like so many teams that do well at majors end up happening. So this was the first domino to fall, Falcon shout out, which was S Chiller. It said here, it wasn't sudden. Last summer when we were playing, even before the RMR, I realised this routine, everything that was happening around me, I didn't like it. From May to August, I knew I didn't want to continue living like that. I wanted to change something. I don't know if it will be a good or bad decision, but I just wanted to try and we will see. But this is my decision. This is my problem. We all try to do our best, but this routine doesn't fit me personally, and I want to improve in other areas of my life and take a break. When I decided I would take a break, I understood I would still need to give my all, help the boys because they deserve it. I wanted to help them as best as I could, but they need a fully motivated teammate, someone better mechanically than me, or someone with a better character than me. So, you know, fair play. He said, look, I'm out. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It's all me. And if you know anything about Passion and how much they actually fucking played online CS, which was like another point we harped on about during the event, about how many maps of like online Counter-Strike they had, it was mental. They played the most maps of any team kind of coming into the major. And obviously that takes its toll. It takes its toll even if you're doing it from your bedroom, you know, your computer room, at home, with your parents lovingly bringing you chicken tendies in between maps. It still takes its toll. And they were playing, you know, fucking so many maps. It was crazy. And then on top of that, I think they revealed during the event, they'd spent months together in a boot camp. It's almost like in a team house environment, grinding all of those lower tier tournaments, and that amount of CS is going to wear you the fuck down. There's no doubt about it. And obviously, get to the major, you know, they've had a bit of a payday. Probably you're just looking at yourself going like, actually, yeah, fuck this. We put in a lot of work to defy expectation, time for a holiday, and I'm all about that. I love someone that's aware enough to say, I'm going to put some time into self-care. I'm going to do that, actually. Good for him. And we'll see where he ends up, because it's kind of interesting, because apparently everyone was meant to be signed up until the end of 2027, but the CEO also said, if there's a big move for one of these players, we're not going to stand in the way. We'll do a deal. So, very Trumpian. I like it, right? S Chiller is gone on a break, and more on Passion in just a few moments. In the interim, let's enjoy this. Let's just bask in this bit of good news. Oh, Lord. It's over. It's finally over. Fnatic, one of the most underachieving, poorly managed orgs. They're not on a NIP level. They're not on an Astralis level. They're not on a EG level. But then again, they haven't had anything close to the success even those orgs have had lately. Fnatic is still trailing in their wake, which is terrifying to think about. We talked about how Keita had been stealing a check for like nearly 4 years or whatever it's been at Fnatic without anyone questioning his contribution. That's fine. I'm sure if he catches these clips of me bagging on him, he hates it, because obviously we're all from the UK scene. We're from the Source days. We've been to I-Series and all of that shit. But I'm just, keeping it real. But I can certainly say this. Whatever I've got to say about Keita as a coach, you're certainly not helped by Body as an IGL. A really poor individual player. As an IGL, I never got it. I never understood why this would be the choice, and I never understood why he got so many opportunities in that role. Now, what I will say about Fnatic, we're going to get to them in a little bit later on as they rounded out their roster. What I will say is, once they signed Blame F, it was kind of like, look, we are going to have to get some good players in at some point. Blame F, by the way, can always go back to being an IGL. Many people seem to forget he's done that in the past. Obviously, people criticise him and say his tactics revolve around 4 people going there, I lurk round here, get 3 frags, we lose the round, a.k.a. the happy style of IGLing. But that's not necessarily true and not necessarily something that's going to happen. What I can say is Body absolutely was on borrowed time. He was terrible at the major. Fnatic looked terrible at the major. I even said on the major desk, if memory serves me correctly, one of the places I could see Hooksy going, and I wouldn't have a problem with it, is he could join Fnatic and actually improve them. He is an improvement over Body. So don't say I'm a Hooksy hater, because that's not true. I just know exactly where he is in the rankings. But yes, Crims the Ever-Living continues on the Fnatic roster, but Body won't. And you can see here, this is, I think, was this Khan? There's a lot of exciting talent out there, so hopefully we can build something stronger and something that scales over time. And there was a tweet saying, bye-bye, we're moving Body to the inactive roster. He's been an integral member of Fnatic as an IGL for the past year. I want to thank him for his dedication, drive, and resilience. So another French reject there in free agency. We'll see where he ends up. Not that anyone cares, but please, wherever you do end up, don't be an IGL. Eternal Fire were one of the disappointments of the major. I think we can all agree with that. They were very disappointed to not make it through to the real stage of the event, and it did look like something was going to change off the back of that. Eternal Fire have been a team that across 2024, they've had some really good runs. They've had some really good results. I'm thinking, that final at Pro League and everything else. Xantares at 29 got into the top 20, looking really good over the course of the year. I remember there was an episode of By the Numbers way back when. I think it was when Eternal Fire was announced, and I said, there is a Turkish lineup that could be the perennial upset team, as in they will always beat a team that is theoretically better than them on paper just by virtue of firepower. Now, that was when Woxic and Xantares weren't playing together. They've since, for whatever the beef was, they buried it a long time ago. They fucking came together, and ever since then, Eternal Fire, led by Madja, they have been doing really well. They obviously discovered Wakadia as well to add to that. And unfortunately, the elephant in the room was Calyx. And what is Calyx going to do? Now, in years gone by, Calyx has been a very competent contributor to the team, a very competent rifler, and someone that has put up respectable numbers, but that really hasn't been the case over 2024. And in the meantime, we've had Jota, who has just been lurking, waiting in the wings to get this opportunity, and you will not find a single person that thinks this move is bad. I've yet to hear it. This is actually the perfect move. Now, just quickly about Calyx, I'll say this. There was someone saying, Calyx is probably going to retire, which is like, what? Why would that be true? He's like 26. There's plenty of time. I know, obviously, that when you play in a small niche scene that's almost like linguistically locked off from everywhere else, That's kind of crazy. But there were reports that he sold his inventory, got rid of all of his expensive skins, sold them all, and it's just like, I don't know what's next for me. Kind of crazy to think about. Now, look, obviously he's made a bit of money, and not everyone's cut out for like long careers in esports. There are even some of the greatest players of all time that have gone away for a while, took real jobs, gone into family businesses, gone to school, got their education. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. If he's had enough, that's absolutely fair. But I thought he was like someone that really was a solid contributor to Eternal Fire. But unfortunately, Jota is just straight up the better player and a clear upgrade, and a player that is going to give Eternal Fire more firepower and just a much more rounded look to the team. Will I tip them to do really well in 2025? Kind of hard to say. There's been some mega rosters put together going into 2025, so don't know too much about that. But I'll give this move 2 thumbs up for the first thumbs up of the stream. Great move. Cannot be argued with. Not even Calix could argue with this move. Great moves for Eternal Fire, and I hope Magic can make it all work, because they're a very fun team to watch. Back over to Passion, and their in-game leader Fear officially left after 11 months with the organization. Fear did catch a lot of attention being an IGL. His numbers weren't like off the wall crazy, as you can see there, but he had some impact. He had some decent performances. He was at home playing with the crowd in what could have been a difficult environment, because it was essentially another thing people forget about Passion. The major, well, the RMRs and then the major, that was essentially their first real lands. They've been to some like tier 2, tier 3 small lands. This was their baptism of fire, and they passed with flying colours. Fear, for me, did a decent enough job. And you can see that he, in the end, has had an opportunity to go on to something better. And you can see Passion's solid fundamentals and team play on the core maps in their pool played a key part in their effort in Shanghai, with Fear's leadership extending from calling, fragging on the server as he ended the major as Passion's best performer with a 1.18 rating. He even outperformed Jambo, who was linked with a number of teams and what have you. So yes, in the end, Fear has done enough to play himself into a big move. And it's a shame to see Passion get broke up and scattered into various pieces. I would have liked to have seen them give it another 6 months and see what they could have achieved on the open circuit. But equally, these players, when they get these opportunities, you do have to kind of take them and make hay while the sun shines. Now, look, it says there he's been linked with Fnatic. He does indeed join Fnatic. We'll talk about that when we get there. We'll keep it nice and chronological up until that point. The next big announcement was, obviously by this point, Elige had left Complexity, and it's interesting. We don't know all the details about that move yet, Elige to FaZe. We'll talk about it when we get there. We don't know all of the details about the move. We don't know how much the move was for. We're assuming it wasn't a free transfer. We're assuming a fee was involved. But we don't know. The deal hasn't been explicit. I haven't seen any numbers anyway. So if anyone does have any numbers, let me know. So that's kind of interesting. But this is pretty much what I predicted. Complexity, we're going to have to go and ultimately min-max with an NA lineup. Jason Lake had said when we did the 4 Horsemen episode with him that he was committed to NA and maybe developing some talent here. They'd obviously cut Floppy from the lineup as well, and so they brought in Kuzi and Nick X. Now, I know a little bit about Kuzi, obviously. He's one of these players who has been around the block. You can see he's played on various lineups that are kind of notorious from ESEA. You can see he was playing in Undone, but obviously known for his time most recently in Party Astronauts, where he kind of bounced back and forward to. He was announced for a time. So, this is someone who's like been around the block in NA, but that's just kind of how you have to hustle in NA. Like, if you look at his Wikipedia page, it's kind of all over the fucking place, because that's just what happens if you're trying to be an upwardly mobile NA player these days. They don't really have a scene, so to speak of. But it's clear he's in that weird shadow realm of being a tier 1.5 player, in the sense that, you know, when they're playing these other not so great teams in NA, he puts up decent performances and good numbers. When he comes up against better teams, be they in NA or anywhere else, his numbers dwindle a little bit. What Complexity are banking on is that they're able to round him out and make him a more complete player. Now, the one that I didn't know so much about was Nick X, or Nix. I'm guessing it's Nick X. This is a player that, like, really surprised me that he was the name that was picked up over others. Not somebody, I don't even think I've seen this guy play a game, unless I did catch him in one of the Nouns games that I watched. So I probably have seen him play, and not in it. My brain just hasn't registered. But this is the prospect, 20 years old. They're hoping that this is someone that's going to be developed, you know, someone who can develop. Again, Kuzi, on the other hand, might be the finished article, might not be good enough to hang in tier 1. That might just be the reality. This is the kind of, we've done the scouting, we're very confident about this pick, and without giving too much away, obviously I know the guys over at Complexity a little bit. They did have a short list, they did have a long list of names. It's not like they were throwing darts in a board. They did actively scout out these players. And so this is the player that they've decided is going to be good enough. And we can go back to their lineup here, and you can see that it's going to be essentially JT, Grim, Halzerk, Kuzi, Nick X, which ultimately means either Grim or Halzerk is now the star of Complexity. Now, obviously, without wanting to be unkind, these are massive downgrades. I mean, put it this way. I was all about Floppy getting cut. Someone had to go. You couldn't keep Grim and Floppy on the roster. It just wasn't going to work. But that was on the proviso you were going to pick up someone that had a proven background, that they were better than Floppy. Neither of these players are that, but that's not to say they can't be. They're just not now. The other issue you've got is you cannot replace Elige. There is no marquee signing. Obviously, Complexity, they're not shy about it. They're saying, look, we need investment, we need sponsors if we're going to go out and sign players like that. Until then, we have to min-max, hope we can maintain our rating, hope we can keep going to events and keep hitting our sponsor deliverables. And that's got to be their business model. But ultimately, will Complexity ever have another player like Elige? Probably not in 2025. It's going to be very hard for them to have a star player. And then, so, okay, now the pressure is on. Let's not forget, Grim was on Team Liquid. Tim Liquid. Who's he? He fucking sound like Donald Trump. Tim Apple, Tim Liquid, Grim Liquid, whatever. The point is, Grim was on Team Liquid, wasn't he? He is meant to be this player that has blossomed by this point in time. This is the player that got chewed up by fucking Stewie 2K quite unfairly. And he's got lots to learn and blah, blah, blah. Well, now he's had the opportunity to play in Team Liquid, some of NA's greats, play alongside Elige, arguably NA's greatest player. He's had a lot of room to grow and develop within Complexity. They have a great support network there. Fallen, he's worked with as well. So this is the moment. Elige's gone. You have to be the rifler that steps into Elige's shoes. Big shoes, big, beautiful, bald shoes, but Grim is bald as well. Can he make it work? Not probably. It's highly unlikely he'll make it work. Who could? But he's got an opportunity here. He's got an opportunity that he really needs to take. Otherwise, your other option is Halzerk, the table slammer jammer, everyone's favourite, Ohio trucker, Halzerk. Huge peaks. No consistency, no rhyme or reason to his play style. A player that I said was better than Torji, and then Torji just became a Lanimal for Mouse. So once again, Caster's curse. Regardless, he needs to find consistency in his game now more than ever. So vitally important, papering over the cracks that a lack of Elige and Floppy leave in this lineup. So look, I'm going to give this move. It is 2 thumbs down. I'm sorry, Jason. It's not Overwatch fart noise. There's no cheeks going... None of that. But it is 2 thumbs down. I understand your hands were tied. You did a very good thing by not locking up Elise in contract jail, assuming that you could. You let him go to FaZe. I hope you got some money out of it. And I hope you can find a star player, preferably a good North American player. Are they out there? Do they still exist? Can it happen? Let's see. But yeah, they are rolling the dice big time with these two players. And unfortunately, I think it's coming up snake eyes. And that makes me sound like Scott Steiner. We're going to talk a lot about Falcons now. Everyone loves Falcons. And I love talking about Falcons. Snappy officially out of Falcons, obviously benched, now cast into the wilderness of free agency. A man alive. Just a shout out to all of the bag chasers. Be careful. Because when you're chasing that bag, oh, come back, bag. I want you, bag. Love you, bag. Miss you, legend. When you're chasing that bag, sometimes that bag, it's a little scamp, isn't it? And it's going to lead you into a trap. And before you realise it, you're going to go, you're not the bag at all. You're something terrible and horrible. And then you're going to get got. Coming soon, M. Night Shyamalan's The Bag. That's what happened to Snappy. Snappy basically went out there. He thought, listen, this is going to be good. I've got my Ents homies out here. Magisk, someone I have a load of respect for. Zonic, the GOAT coach, who definitely isn't on fraud watch. We're going to get Nico, probably. This is sick. What a great day to be Snappy. But then, as I've said many times, the rumours abound in the Danish scene where this motherfucker was getting cut off at the knees. Zonic, not a fan of his calling style, not vibing with him. Magisk sometimes chipping in with calls and sort of anti-calling the call. It was not a happy environment for Snappy. So what I like about what Snappy did was Snappy showing his consummate professionalism and maturity. He ultimately just came out. He didn't blame anyone, didn't point any fingers, didn't say anything ridiculous. Yes, I'm talking to you, Zonic, with your, of course I never wanted these players. More on that in a moment, right? He said, 2024 was a tough year in my private life, and on a professional level, it wasn't better. Us/me not playing to an acceptable level, plus an uncertain and chaotic roster situation. I want to thank my colleagues in Falcons for trying their best. Sometimes it isn't meant to be. And obviously, as we'll get to, they ended up being replaced. And you can see, look, Maiden, Sun Pius, Dupree, all gone. All gone. But I think Snappy he got bagged. He got bagged. He got blinded by the bag. Like that song by The Weeknd. He got blinded by the bag. And now he's going to be out there, and he's a much better IGL than he showed in Falcons. Falcons are going to be the new NIP in the sense that your time in Falcons doesn't count. That's just going to be the reality. Until they eventually get that super team, they are just going to keep throwing millions at. They don't have it now. This isn't it. I'm in disagreement with a lot of my professional colleagues over this. But just to put a pin in the Snappy stuff, yes, it is sad. It is very sad that Snappy is out there. I don't think he did anything wrong, knowing a little bit about the environment and everything that I heard. I hope he can end up somewhere good because Snappy is a nice guy and a solid IGL. Then, kind of linked to Falcons, G2 confirmed what we've known pretty much since February 2024. Nico is really getting the bag, going to Falcons, after negotiating the bag, then demanding a bigger bag, upsetting everyone, saying keep the bag then, going back to G2, having a last dance, fucking up on the dance floor, tripping over, spraining an ankle, and then saying, right homies, now I'll take the bag, thanks for the bag. Nico is getting the bag, and he's going to be at Falcons with players that we'll get to that I'm pretty sure he didn't want to be playing with. This was the official farewell, and this was a nice little message from Malbs. He said, I only got to spend 6 months next to you, but it really felt like it was years. I wish it was more time next to you, but thanks for being a leader and a teacher. Now it's the time for me to fill those 60-sized shoes. And there you go. See you at Con in Mirage. And so all of this is to say that, yeah, Malbs is the star player on G2 right now. He's going to be playing in the positions that Nico used to play. He is going to be stepping up, and Nico's gone. Now, listen, The interesting part to all of this is it's a huge loss for G2. Obviously, we've already talked about this move to death. It is it's all of that. But because he's gone to Falcons, and Falcons have again they've just bought a top 10 team, spent way more money than they needed to do it, just so they can keep getting invited to events, because they don't want to work at anything, because that's not their ethos, that's not their ethic. It's throw shit at a wall and see how much sticks. That's how they're GMing over there. And by the way, how do I know that? Because I've looked at the way they've handled every other single game. They have exactly one successful team. It's the Dota 2 team. Every other team, they have tried to buy success, and they have failed, and they have flopped. So it's nice when you have an unlimited checkbook, right? But you've still got to know what you're doing. So Nico out. Not too much more to add about that. We'll get to his replacement. We've already talked about it when we did the speculation station. And here we go. This was Falcons' big moment. They got to announce that they finally got their man. After over a year of trying, well, just under a year of trying, but a year of trying, right? They finally got to announce Nico. And let's see, what do people say? Zonic, I'm really happy to get the best rifler on board for this team. Hopefully one day I will be right behind him when he lifts that major trophy, right? Nico said, I'm here to give my best and do everything in my power to help the team achieve our goals, win trophies, and make history together. And by the way, I thought this was kind of interesting and it's worth talking about. I don't know if you saw this, because you might not have watched the Esports World Cup. I didn't. A meaningless, soulless tournament in Riyadh designed to distract the local populace from all of the heinous shit that their government does. Not really interested in that, but that is esports now. See my Substack article, 2024, Year of the Sellout, if you want to read more about that. But one of the things that happened during the Esports World Cup was anywhere you went in the around the area where the tournament was being held, it was just Nico. It was just pictures of Nico. And that's not an accident. That's not an accident at all. This is the kind of thing that happens in other sports. It's a form of enticement. Everywhere they went, Nico, 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 Nico. They were priming the pump, essentially. So Nico was always going to go. They've got their man. They're all super happy about it. They get to say, no doubt, there's some esports website that publishes in Arabic that, like, you don't read. And they're going, you know, oh, this proves Falcons are real and they're going to win everything and all the best players want to come here, just like in our football league, which, by the way, interesting fact, not that most of you care, this is an esports broadcast, isn't it? But the Saudi Arabian Football League, or soccer for my American friends, they're even though they're signing more and more European players and theoretically better players into their league, their attendances are down. Their attendances are down year upon year. So just putting that out there, you know. But whatever, they will keep spending, much like Heroic have continued to do. I'll just say this. If ever there was a player that could put a mediocre team on his back and carry them to trophy wins and deep runs, it's absolutely Nico. And I will say, probably the team they've got is a bit above mediocre in professional team terms, but I am certainly not impressed with the final lineup that they've put together, and it absolutely reeks of a lack of vision and lack of a plan. We'll get back to it. We can just knock this one out super quick. Obviously, Zyphon, Danish talent, a 20-year-old Danish talent who is rumoured to have a miserable, stinking, terrible attitude. But he's back. He's in Sashi now, where he gets to work with the perfect person to teach him about the values of integrity and sportsmanship. It's a marriage made in heaven. Zyphon goes into this team. Sashi, we didn't talk about them at the major. I made a deliberate decision. I just was going to not pay as much attention to them for obvious reasons, because I think it's bad for the sport, what's gone on. But they do have some players. I mean, Lucky was really good at the major overall. He had not really good, but he had some really good maps, which it was nice to see him get bounce back, because obviously anyone who's been part of the Astralis talent sacrifice nightmare pipeline, I am immensely sympathetic to all of these young players that get these opportunities for Astralis. It seems like a good idea, but Astralis do you dirty, and they do you dirty every time. It's just who they are. They can't help themselves. By the way, did hear, I'm working on a story at the moment, but obviously I've been ill, haven't I? So, again, for the umpteenth time, he's got no immune system. I did hear that there's been some layoffs at Astralis. They're making some big cutbacks and some layoffs right now. I'm going to get into that. But, you know, just putting that out there as a little crumb of information, just in case anyone else wants to follow it. Can't all be Richard Lewis. You're going to have to get used to a world without Richard Lewis. He's going one day. So, anyway, Altex as well is another young player that I like the look of. And Xiphon hopefully can go and deliver on this promise. He's still only 20. He's been in a couple of teams now where he's had the opportunities to shine and hasn't really, you know, got a grips with that. So, you know, hopefully he can do it. What I will say is, for Sashi, that's a 1 thumbs up. That's a good move. Can't argue with it. But yes, the sleeper must awaken at some point. Back over to NA. Nouns, friends of the stream, have announced that they are revamping the roster. What they've done is they have kept Rush and Junior. Remember Junior? Remember him? So many memories. And Rush, of course, legend. Loving that tash in that picture, by the way. What a manly man. Do love him. What a legend. Absolutely jacked, of course, as well. You have to have a mustache like that. But they brought in Cryptic, Peeping, and Infinite. Now, you'll know Cryptic, you'll know Infinite. These are players that, again, have been around the ESEA goblins. They're in the mines of Moria, playing in ESEA and kind of getting those opportunities to go into, like, decent NA teams. And then, we're back over here and there's no stability in the rosters and all of that stuff. But Peeping is a player that might catch a few people off guard. You might not have heard of him. You might not have seen him quite so much. Another one of the party astronauts and kind of elevate holdouts, but will be the youngest player on the roster. And so another NA, one to watch developmentally. Are they going to be able to do it? And of course, there's Adrian. There he is. I remember interviewing Adrian when he was a player. There'll be videos of it and the Cadred clips thing. Back when he was in Team Dynamic. What a legend. Great guy. We will see. I will add as well, a player being called Peeping while also having glasses and looking like that is hilarious. Good. That's good crack. I appreciate it. What can I say about this? I mean, look, I'm just going to give it shaky hand because no one really knows. It's NA. It's its own language that you have to decipher. There's no rhyme or reason to a North American Counter-Strike transfer. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Does any of it matter? Why are we here? Just to suffer? That's NA Counter-Strike, isn't it? So, shaky hands. Who knows? Best of luck to Nouns. Do like them. We go back to Passion. Obviously, they had some holes to fill, and they have picked up a player called Topa. You can see here, Topa has been plying his trade on the lower tiers since 2018. He started out as a member of 2 academy squads, the Windigo Academy and Navi Junior, which is where I know him from, before jumping from team to team in 2021 to 2022, most notably taking part in the IEM Rio 2022 RMR with Team Fantasy. What a lineup that was. Look, there's Bro there and Aiken and Tudson. Great stuff. Anyway, the 25-year-old last represented Ikla alongside the likes of Michu and Lekro. If you remember them, they came together trying to get into the RMR, I think it was, and then they didn't, and they broke apart immediately. Another sticker money team. But he will now be joining Passion, where he's going to be the captain. And he says, being able to represent Ukraine is deeply meaningful to me, and I'll give my all to live up to this opportunity. I'm grateful for this chance and excited to show what we can achieve together. Now, obviously, I'd be lying if I said I could make an informed assessment about what he's going to bring and what he's going to do differently at Fear and all this other stuff. But whatever, it's a shaky hand. We will see. We will see. But I do like what this says to me that I do like is Passion are going to stick around. They're going to put together a 5. They're going to be active next season. They're not going anywhere. They're not just going to let their team crumble or sell it to another org and then pack up and we had our fun. They're going to stick around. I admire that. More of that, please. It comes to something when a fledgling Ukrainian organization that's essentially only known because A, they recently had a good run at the major, and B, they're owned by a celebrity / footballer, they're more committed to the grind than Team Sticker Money. Really makes you think. Although, as we'll get to, Team Sticker Money are rumoured to be trying to throw together 5 NA players ahead of the Austin major, so we will see. Back to Falcons, and they did it. They completed their lineup. So obviously, who did they get? Well, let's be clear. They got Munacy, didn't they? We all remember that. They got Munacy to join Magisk and Nico. They got Jimmy from Mouse, right? It's all there, right? They got the super team guys. No, actually, they didn't. Instead, they had to do a last-minute scramble to get a top 10 team just so they could get to all of the invites that they believe they should get invited to. Not to worry. I'm pretty sure ESL Blast, everyone would have found a way to invite you anyway. That's just how that works now. In the end, they went for Heroic, and they picked up the core. Kixon, Dexter, and Tezes. There was a rumor going around, I think it was an Overdrive rumor, that this was meant to be one of the biggest moves in CIS / Russian cybersports or whatever. I have no idea if that's true. I heard numbers from $3 million to $6 million for this move of this core to go to Falcons. I have no idea if that's true. What I will say is, before we get into reviewing the move, looking at Falcons, some funny little details, here's what I will say. Heroic have absolutely fucking balled out these last 2 years. There is not one organization that has made more money from the sale of players than Heroic. Even if we were to go to $2 million for Yabi and Stown, and then $3 million for the Heroic core. That's $5 million in 2 years for selling 5 players that ultimately, none of whom are lights out. Like, the best player on Heroic didn't go to Falcon. And so, if you know where Heroic was, because we wrote about it, they were fucked. Most of us in the chat, he's right. They were on the brink of bankruptcy. They were really having to work hard to keep the lights on. Now, with a combination of Astralis and Falcons, i.e. orgs that just spend money stupidly, they've managed to build up 2 teams worth selling to maybe greater fools. Who knows? But regardless, you got to respect the hustle. They remind me a lot of, this is how Copenhagen Wolves used to operate back in the day when Copenhagen Wolves were a thing. And they didn't just do this in Counter-Strike. They did this in, League of Legends, because obviously that's where, I think Reckless is... not Reckless. Bjergsen is from. They sold Bjergsen quite famously after building him up as a player. And so, Copenhagen Wolves, what they used to do, they just had this conveyor belt of, talent that they would discover, they would develop, and then they would sell to other orgs for a profit. That's how the org sustained itself. They were an incubator team in the way that, Sprout was, in a way, to a much lesser extent. But Copenhagen Wolves were doing it on a bedrock of solid fundamentals when it came to scouting and understanding team composition and good support network. Heroic are now emulating that success. You've got to hand it to Saw. He's helped build up now 2-3 teams that have been really good and punched above their weight. They've never had true stability in the sense that there was always 1 or 2 players here and there. They overcame all of that drama when Hundam was trying to imply that they were cheaters because he was on a mission to fucking destroy them. The whole thing, if you think about the rocky waters they've skillfully glided through and come out the other side profitable, it's actually crazy. So Falcons complete their lineup with Kixon, Dexter, and Tezes. You can see the lineup there: Magis, Nico, Kixon, Dexter, and Tezes. So, interesting fact, and I heard this as well, so even though some of the people repeating this aren't reliable when it comes to rumors and they're just attention seekers and clout goblins, I heard this from sources I trust, so I will repeat it on my stream without any caveats included. The team, for some reason, had decided that for this season, if they were going to stay on Heroic, they were looking at actively replacing Dexter. Bunch of behind-the-scenes bullshit as to why, but let's call it clash of personalities. if you want to. But they wanted to, they were actively looking at who could potentially replace Dexter on the roster. And that to me is insane, because I think Dexter is certainly one of the better players on the old Heroic as it was, and certainly a player that I think brings a lot to any team he's on. He's not the player people think he is. People think he's an explosive, hyper-aggressive AWPer that's going to pull out all these like prime Kenny S style shots. He hasn't been that player for a while, actually. He's trying to add a bit more guile and smarts to his game and try and hit consistent shots and put up consistent numbers. He will occasionally have a pop-off round because he is a talented AWPer, but he's not really, if you just watch him play, he's not really the player that people like build him up to be, and that's fine. I don't even know if in CS2 you can be that style of AWPer. I'm not sure yet. It remains to be seen. The only player I see kind of like doing crazy shit like that is like Munacy, and he seems to be a very unique proposition in that sense. So we'll see. But anyway, I find that hilarious. I find that hilarious that the team wanted to replace Dexter. And then, sorry guys, we are now purchasing you with Dexter. So Dexter gets a reprieve and the bag and gets to go here. Let's also assess the move on its face. When Nico went there, I'm pretty sure he thought he was going to have like a really good IGL. Obviously, remember, they were linked with, I mean, is this a really good IGL? You can decide, but they were linked with Apex for a while. That turned out to be bullshit. Snappy obviously wasn't going to stay. Then it was going to be like Magisk was maybe going to be the IGL and all of this. When Nico went there, I'm pretty sure he didn't think he was getting a rookie IGL. And you have to understand, even like when I say rookie, I just mean rookie not in the classic sense of, oh, it's his first season or whatever. I mean rookie in the sense that he hasn't really proven that he is a great IGL yet, and yet everyone talks him up like he's guaranteed to be one of these future legends. I don't know. Like, put it this way, I see the hype with Shuhei. Shuhei won a bunch of like academy leagues and tournaments, made it to a major final. I see the hype around an IGL like Shuhei, right? I get it. He could very well be like the next Carrigan, the next Glaive, somebody like that. I don't hate that opinion. Kixon, I do not see that at all. And yet people have somehow almost made them analogous when they compare them. You'll hear it all the time. Oh, we got all these great young IGLs coming through. Look at Kixon. He's fantastic. And it's like, is he? I don't know. And so I'm going to tell you this. Kixon has gone from having a relatively comfortable job at Heroic, where no one was ever going to criticize him or anything he did, and they would blame a million players and the coach and the org and everything before him. He had the privileged position, and then he has said, nah, really, it's nice here, but I'm just going to have a quick look in this place called the Lion's Den. I'm just going to see what it's like in there. Looks warm, sheltered, dark, but that's fine. I'm not scared of the dark. Who's scared of the dark? And he's gone in there. And what he's going to find is, first of all, the Magisk Zonic duo, undefeated. If you don't start on the right foot, as we know from the Snappy era, you're fucked. Those two guys are just going to be wrecking your life, right? And this is just another reason why. Just make Magisk the IGL Zonic. It's what you want. Just make him the IGL. And instead of pretending you're going to work fairly with another IGL, because you're not. So that's the first problem you've got to overcome. Next problem you've got to overcome. Oh, you got Nico. Nico ain't here to fuck around, mate. He's here to win trophies and get the bag, of course. But he's not gonna be happy if he goes an entire year without winning anything. 6 months is all you have. And you're going to have to do it with even a more mature Nico, but someone who's going to cut a frustrating figure. And he doesn't have the same relationship with you that he has with Hunter, that he has with Munacy. He doesn't have the same relationship. He ain't cutting you no slack. He's another guy, by the way, primed to be a potential IGL, has said, I will be an in-game leader at some point in my career. Brilliant. So you got two pseudo IGLs on your lineup and a coach that wants this guy to be IGL in all but name. Okay, not a problem. At least you've got a nice, emotionally stable AWPer. All right, no, you've got Dexter. Notorious notorious problem child. You've got to somehow deal with that. And potentially a player you yourself were going to cut from the roster. And he knows that. And now you've got to... Just kidding. We all had a drink, yeah? Come here. Come here. Fucking hell, come here. Well then. Yeah, don't envy your job, mate. I'll say it straight out. Think you've actually fucked yourself here. This is what they call a poison chalice. Tezes, by the way, let's just also say this. Do you know the player that goes missing when Heroic are in playoffs almost consistently every time without fail? It's Tezes. So, he's the one who's like, right, Heroic really have a chance here. Oh, okay, Tezes is fucking missing again. It's Tezes. He's a farmer in the games that Heroic are meant to win, but big games, chokes. Not what you need in a team that is this fraught. Now, let's get to the move overall, buying this core. It's a good move in the sense that it achieves Falcons' goals. Once again, Falcons get to skate on money. They don't have to. They don't have to qualify for anything. They don't have to play for a long time, work their way up. They buy a core, and even though there's no evidence that this is a top 10 team, because the Heroic core was a top 10 team, we treat Falcons like they're a top 10 team. And that's how our scene works, and that's how our sport works. And so they just get to go straight into it, right? And as I said, they didn't even get the best Heroic player, arguably players. So the core they got isn't even the good version they could have put together. Now, with that said, my criticism of this move is that it just reeks of, once again, Falcons didn't have a plan. They thought they had Munacy locked up and Jimmy locked up, but they didn't have anything locked up. Like they thought they had Nico locked up before. You didn't have him locked up. You had nothing locked up. Who's doing the planning? You have to plan more than 3 weeks in advance if you want to build a team, if you want to build a truly great roster. And instead, you've done a mad scramble again. And here's my concern. After having watched Sonic go through 2 lineups, not one, people are saying, oh, he went through 1 lineup. No, he went through 2. Because if you remember, when he first came in, he said, everyone will have a chance. I give it to you, the people. Yes. He came in, full of himself, Bane, of course. Fucking said everyone gets a chance. In my Gotham, everyone shall have a chance. Yes. Unlike the Batman. Immediately benched everyone. Death by exile. Then realised, oh shit, we haven't got 5 players. And so he had to bring them back. Not MBK. We expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Ah, yes. The fire rises. The fire did not rise. Far from it. Went a whole year just being shit, terrible, inexcusable results. Remember, they had a top 10 core that they took from like being a top 10 core, getting invited to top tier tournament, down to 30th in the world. Then Sonic turns around to Snappy. You play like a much younger man, holding nothing back. Admirable, but mistaken. And then he fucking breaks Snappy's back. Like, he's out, he's gone, he's dead. And now he comes out, he says, I didn't want them anyway. Never wanted them. Me. Right? And now he's put together this team, and this is the real one, is it, Sonic? This is really what you wanted the whole time. Well, all right. I'm just saying, we're going to get to 6 months. This is my bold prediction. We're going to get to 6 months, and everyone, it's going to be, well, of course, these were placeholders. Of course, Dexter was never the answer. Of course, we were always going to get Munacy. It's going to be that again. I just don't see this team winning a tournament in 2025. I don't. I think there's too many teams around them have leveled up. All they've really achieved with this is they've taken Heroic out of the field. That's it. But now you have become the Heroic. So what have you really gained? Looks like a waste of time to me. And on that basis, I'm giving it 1 thumbs down. Next, Passion finished their lineup with, there's something about the name Kvem. It just sounds horrible. It sounds like a fucking disease. Sounds like a disease or a euphemism for cum. Kven. Have my Kven. Terrible player name, but it's fair enough. Kven. But anyway, he's on Passion. And actually, you'll remember him from such team as Drillers. Definitely not a narcissist project there. But you know what? It is a good pickup. And I look at Passion, and you know what they've done? Yeah, they lost a couple of players. One, because he's out. He just checked the fuck out. He can't handle it. He's had enough. That's fair. Fear, obviously we're about to get to. He's gone to Fnatic. He's taken a step up in terms of prestige. Fair. But they kept Jambo and they kept Jacasmo. So Passion haven't done too bad. They brought in, an experienced older player, been around the block, and then Kvem, who's actually a decent player. Definitely a tier 1 rifler in CS2. Actually really solid pickup. This is probably as good as a lineup as Passion could have hoped to put together. And, I'm not going to say anything crazy. I'm not going to go overboard and oversell it and go, watch for them in 2025. If they could just continue the level they were at coming out of Shanghai, you will see Passion at some tournaments this year. You will see them there. They're not going to do anything there, but even being among the big boys is really good for a org of Passion stature. So, yeah, I got 2 thumbs up. 1 thumbs up. 1. Sound. That is a sound move. Now, Heroic continue the great dismantling, because also, remember, on top of the money they took from Astralis and took from Falcons, they've also took money for the best player on the lineup. Nerds. Now, of course, Nerds was never going to Falcons. We know why. Because even though the governments are all coup d'etat, the fans probably still aren't going to like it. So, just saying. And he's the best player on that Heroic team. Nerds was robbed. He should have been in the top 20 over Torzi. More on that when I do my fucking own top 20, now that the HLTV top 20's gone. But Nerds left. He's out. He's gone. He's had enough. Heroic don't have a team at this stage. But that's all right, because we're talking about Nerds. And immediately it was announced that, yes, much like the speculation said, he is joining Team Liquid. Now, Roll Cells, as we said in the previous video, Roll Cells don't like this. Roll Cells think this is bad because they go, oh, Nerds is kind of passive, and Nav's passive, and JKS is passive, and Twist isn't the same player because he's an IGL. Nerds can only improve Liquid. Fact. He's too good. He's a top 20 player. Robbed. Torji over him in the top 20 is criminal. It's criminal. Right? It's actually criminal. But it doesn't matter, because as we've seen with Malbs, when you're good enough, you can just swap around and, make things work. It's fine. It's fine. They have a really talented rifle core now. And that will make you go places. Ultimate's got to get his shit together. JKS has to stop being just an average. But it doesn't matter at this point, because, look, for me, and this is hot, this is just, oh, Richard, you're always a hater. But I think people would agree with this. You cut JKS, you bring in an IGL, and you move Twists back to his old rifling positions. And then you've got a real team, right? But who knows? Maybe you can repurpose JKS, like back in the old days. He played a much more aggressive style than he went on to go and be an anchor back when he was more of a star player, in the 100 Thieves and Renegades kind of days. So maybe Naf certainly is just great, just one of the best North American players to ever touch the game, so he can do things. But I think if you cut JKS and brought in an IGL and let Twists go back, you probably have a fucking, a move. Now, look, I'd do something crazy, like, I'd get Steel or something like that, right? I'd just do something mental like that. But it's not for everyone, so fair enough. They're obviously gonna go with this lineup. You can see this is Twist. Extremely happy to have Nerds part of the team. Not the first time I went on a search for him. It's a very good Christmas present. And you can see there, Nerds is expected to add a massive amount of firepower to the Liquid roster, having averaged a 1.14 rating for Heroic all across 2024, and narrowly missed out on the top 20 players of the year list, because that's a fucking travesty. But this is a great move. And, look, another thing you could have done, could have got Spinks in for JKS, and then we'll get to Spink, but I love this move. I think this move is great. I really like Nerds as a player. We have this running thing where the reason I do the Nerds chant is because we had this thing in Shanghai where every time like Nertz was playing, like it was Nertz. He's like a super cool player to watch, super chill guy, really good, underrated in my opinion actually. Certainly tailor-made to have a pop-off performance in Team Liquid. If Ultimate gets his head out of his arse, then Liquid can maybe be back. But anything for your Kinder would have been a step in the right direction. Nertz for your Kinder is fucking insane. So I'm giving this 2 thumbs up. Richard Lewis, seal of approval. Bosch, that's a new one. By the way, you know that Bosch guy? You've seen him on the TikTok, yeah? Big John. Basically, from what I can tell, he's a fat 50-something-year-old man, right? This is where someone on the YouTube comments types, Richard's describing himself. And what he does is he says something, and then at the end he goes, Bosh. And I think he's from Essex, based on his accent. Now, for example, during the British election, the UK election, sorry, he said, thinking about staying in, arguing about politics. How about instead you order yourself a big fuck off Chinese? Get them chicken balls down, yeah. Bosh. That was his political analysis. Now, why are you talking about Big John? Well, somebody sent me this, and this is what I call hell on earth, and the reason why the asteroid needs to get here. Because he's doing a tour of nightclubs, and you can see there, Big John is doing an event called Quids In. The TikTok legend and his Bosch army are coming to the biggest Monday night in the world. And there he is. There's a picture of him. Bosh. Oh, wait. This is 2023. Didn't even look at the year. I got sent this the other day. Well, this has already happened and you can't go. But who would go to something like this? Right, remember, this is a fat man, a fat 50-year-old man who says Bosh. That's his whole thing. I remember when I lived in Newcastle, there's a nightclub in Big Market called Blue Bamboo, BLUBAMBU. It might still be there. It's very famous. And every time you went into Blue Bamboo, they had this guy, and I can't remember his name, but he was fucked up. He wasn't all there, And there was near the DJ booth, near the dance floor, there was a pipe coming out of the ceiling because it was a really classy establishment, and a water pipe or something was coming out of the ceiling. And they used to get this guy who was clearly compromised. It's the nicest way to put it. He was fucking compromised, mate. They used to bring him out, and he'd be there in a shirt and tie in this shit nightclub, and they would make him do a high kick, and he could kick real high. It was his one talent, and if he could kick the pipe, everyone's next drink was free. And they'd bring him out every few hours. He was just chained in a dungeon being fed fish heads. And everyone would be like, yeah, yeah. Is that better than the Bosch army? I don't know. All I know is that's my way of saying Ultimate better get his act together. That was a metaphor. Y'all just couldn't see it. Now Chase is Googling Blue Bamboo. It's closed down. And it's been replaced by a nightclub called Filthies. That's a shame. Well, time waits for no one. Bosh. So, anyway, Ultimate, get your act together. Don't hold Liquid back. Nerds. Thumbs. Right, now, Dupree, he didn't get picked up in free agency despite being benched by Falcons, but instead, he got Astralis privilege executed because Blast have decided that he's going to be an analyst. I watched some of his work today. He had his first day on the analysis desk. By the way, chat, I'll ask you, what did you make of Dupree's first day on the desk? Was it thumbs up, shaky hand, thumbs down, fart noise? I'm seeing a strong uptake for mid, average, decent start. Could tell he was nervous. It is nerve-wracking your first time. Now, what was he like in comparison of Bubsky? Bosh. Right, listen. I want more ex-pros to come through, and instead of playing in dog shit teams, trying to chase that high, I want legendary players to read the room and step into analysis desk jobs and try and have a career like that, or go into coaching roles and try and have a career like that, rather than just swirl down the fucking pan. It's sad. I don't want you to do that. So I'm all about Dupree. I want him to do well on that desk. I think obviously they've got Maui and Vu as well. I will say this, the desk that they have on that show is a war crime. It is a travesty. It is a crime. It is an absolute crime what they've done with that desk. You have to think about these things, right? I know I've just had a segue. We've been talking about Blue Bamboo, Bosch, TikTok, Dupree on the desk, but look, that's criminal, guys. That's criminal for a number of reasons. First of all, right? I mean, it looks photoshopped almost, right? Like, I don't know why they've done this to Maui. But I'm going to explain. Here's the problem. People are going to get him a box. He can't have a box. Oh, is this the real pick? Or is this not the real pick? This is Ghoul, so it's definitely not the real pick. This is just going to be something awful, isn't it? Yeah, there we are. Yeah, like, this was Ghoul's contribution. Is that? It's not actually entirely fucking dissimilar, is it? But anyway, right, I'm just going to give you some knowledge. First of all, that desk is unbelievably low. It's just not a good height to begin with. Obviously, if it was any higher, Maui would be struggling. He'd be fucking, like, literally hanging off it. But it's not a good height to begin with. A desk should sort of be able to be factoring in. It should be kind of coming just a little bit round here. So I know you're talking about like 2 6-footers in Vu and Banks, but not a great height of the desk. Anyway, that's a pet quibble, whatever. But you can't have a see-through desk where you can see the legs. You can't have that. You can see all the inner workings. There could be a talkback button under there that I might need to press to get to production. Cables that we might have to like quickly scramble in and out. And also, you can't give a short person, a short king, you can't give a short person a box and have them stand equally because the spell's ruined. It's like doing some Penn and Teller shit where you saw a woman in half but the boxes are invisible. Boxes are transparent, rather. It's shit. This desk sucks, blast. Don't have this for the full season. Also, Marco Pierre White. Is that a North stockpot? What's happening? But anyway, this desk sucks. Not in terms of what it's saying or doing. The actual physical fucking desk can't do that to people. You have to allow people to get their secret boxes under the table. It's just how it works. Anyway, Dupree's going to be on a desk. He's on a desk. You can watch him right now. He's going to be there, Pimp and Maui and Vu. And I like all the choices. Like it. Fuck with it. Let them roll. Let's see how they do. Wishing Dupree all of the best. And I nearly said Device. He's not coming to a desk. Although. But will not be playing, it looks like. At least not for the foreseeable. Doesn't have a team. This one was a bit of a surprise. Don't know if people saw this one coming, but Nork, who was on loan, ended up getting benched. So, for those that don't know, the terrible and sad career of Nork, a victim of circumstance. So, Nork is at NIP. He's doing well. Then they sign Device, and you go, well, fair enough. He is the GOAT. What am I going to do? So he gets benched. Then Device is in, but then Device is out. He has personal problems. He has health problems. Nork is sort of like, wait, what? But like, my career's fucked now. He goes through the weeds, ends up at Bleed. Lol. Fucking comically bad organization with a ton of bullshit behind the scenes. Loads of issues there. Not to mention, Nork also had that issue with NIP and the sticker money, I believe. I don't know if that ever got resolved. Probably not, Guessing he's not going to see a penny of that. And then he negotiates his way out of Bleed on a loan, because he's still under contract there, and there's still technically a thing. Goes to Fnatic, and then Fnatic are like, yeah, cool loan, bro. Benched. We don't want you. So this was very surprising. I mean, did he play well while he's at Fnatic? No. Did anyone play well while he was at Fnatic with the exception of Blame F? Not really. Did he have to put up with an ineffective IGL and an ineffective coach? Yeah. Can those things be disruptive to an AWPer? Particularly a player who's under pressure, playing for a contract maybe? Yeah. Kind of thought that was just a weird one. We're going to get to the Fnatic lineup when it comes. But this was a surprise one for me. I'm going to say Fnatic, you get a thumbs down on this one. I would have kept him. You've got him on loan. I would have kept him for the full duration of his loan and seen where it ended up. In other news, Gamer Legion. When I say gamer, you say Legion. Gamer. Gamer Legion benched Volt. The Romanian player also found himself looking for a new team while Gamer Legion looked to rebuild some pieces. Obviously, one of the holdovers from the team that did well back in the day. And obviously, we talked about, where Flamus has gone and everything else in the other ROSTERMANIA videos. But he was one of the longest standing players. They brought him in from Into the Breach after they both did so well in Paris. And I thought Volt was playing well. I think he's a decent player, certainly for the level that Gamer Legion are operating at, and was very surprised. You can see in these statements here. This is from Ash, the coach. He was worried about the team having too many supportive pieces. I felt that Flamus was often burdened with too much playmaking responsibility, and this meant we became reliant on him at times without others showing enough of a natural aggressive instinct. Volt is a fantastic player, one of the best teammates I've ever worked with. I'm sure he'll find himself on a top team very soon, so he's proven himself multiple times to have what it takes to play Tier 1 Counter-Strike. We wish him all the best, and he will be missed by everyone. Also, you can see they added PR. This is an academy player that they've brought through. Only 17. Definitely something to keep an eye on, because like a lot of these teams that are trying to min-max right now, for Gamer Legion, the scouting has been it just has to be imperative. It has to be good. And Gamer Legion, they weren't just fluking results in Shanghai. They were playing really well. Players were stepping up. Now, unfortunately, obviously with the loss of Flamus, that's a lot of firepower that they've lost. But we're going to see if they are able to do better and replace Volt in fine style. Spoiler, I don't necessarily like it. We had Shush leave Heroic. At this point, left Heroic with no roster and looking for a total rebuild. Very strange that Shush sort of ended up in this position, but thankful to all the memories we shared together in Heroic. Looking forward to what the future brings. And at this point, of course, you can see there, he was being linked with a new look, ninjas in pajamas. But yeah, 4 years at Heroic, been there a long time, was the sort of consistent glue in many lineups, and ended up out. We go back over to Gamer Legion. They announced that their replacement for Volt was going to be Rez. Rez is free. Everyone was doing the memes of the Shawshank Redemption and all that other stuff. I've got to say, the community, they're interesting. They're an interesting bunch. Because Rez on NIP is shit. Not good enough. Lol. Failure. Choker. Blah, blah, blah. Rez leaves NIP. Shawshank Redemption memes. Right? There goes Rez Dufresne. A man who swam through 8 miles of foulness called NIP and came out the other side. In Gamer Legion. And then he joins Gamer Legion. And Reddit are all like, oh, this is huge. It's huge for Gamer Legion. This is the best. What? Signing Rez? I'm like, guys, you've been saying he's been shit for years. What? Is he shit? Look, I understand the rule. Your time in NIP doesn't count. But that can't count for Rez. He's been there forever. He's been there forever. But anyway, there it is. We're thrilled to welcome a true legend to our team and add even more fuel to the fire. There was a quote. Yes, here it is. Ash again. Always good to hear from him. There he is. Bald Brits. Keeping it real. I believe that Rez is a highly undervalued player who's desperate to prove himself at the highest level. I hope that in a new environment, we can provide the stability and structure that he hasn't been given in recent years, and that we will be the ones who see the benefits of his reinvigoration. He fits into the mentality that we are looking for in the group, and we have a lot of confidence in his ability. Now, I'll say this, Gamer Legion and stability are not... they don't go together at all. Those words do not go together because Gamer Legion, it's not their fault. They just can't retain their players. And they're not guaranteed to retain any player that plays well because of the relative stature of the organization. That's the reality. That's the reality in any sport. It's very hard to keep your best players if you're not as big as the other bigger teams around you. That's just the fucking, nature of it. And so you can't guarantee him stability, and there's no guarantee that he's going to come in and be the player you need him to be. That on that roster, Rez, and keep in mind, we've already talked about how we want some more aggressive players. You've lost Flamus, you've lost Volt. Rez might be an upgrade for Volt, but is he going to put up the numbers that Flamus was putting up? Well, he hasn't for a while. Now, is that because of the team he's on? It is NIP after all. Who knows? But I just don't think they've got the player they think they've got. And so there's a lot of trepidation for this signing for me. I want Gamer Legion to succeed. I like Gamer Legion. I like Ash. I like what they've done. They've dealt with a lot of problems and overcome them with, smarts. Bobbing and weaving and doing what you have to do when you're one of those orgs. And they've stayed in the pocket. They didn't fucking fold up. They didn't take the stick of money and run away. They didn't bilk any of the players. They didn't, they've done right by everyone and maintained true to the principles that make Counter-Strike a great team esport and a great sport to watch and be enthusiastic about. So I want them to win, but I can only give this move a shaky hand. Who knows who Rez really is? You're not anyone. You're a faceless shadow when you're on Team NIP. Still, I was surprised that Rez was only 26. He's been on NIP for 7 years and he's only 26. There's still time. There's still time to save yourself. This is like when one of those people who have been put in prison for life or they're on death row and they're innocent and then it gets overturned, but they've spent 30 years of their life in jail and they're institutionalized. You just don't know which way it's going to break. 7 years. Even I had to double check that. It's crazy. But anyway, shaky hands, I'm afraid. Shaky fucking hands. Then we had the move that was always coming. We all saw this from a mile away. There's been some more interviews about it today. And that was Spinks gets moved to the inactive roster. Lots of speculation about this. The rumor, the story goes, is Spinks didn't want to play with player X or player Y. Player X being Apex, player Y being Mez Y. Right? Now, I don't know if any of that's true, but apparently it was one of those players, or maybe both of those players. There was not a happy camp. Spinks wanted out. He thought he was going to get a big move in ROSTERMANIA. I have no idea if he's missed a window, or if maybe the org has kind of fucked him up and made him miss a window because they were pissed off with him. But they have moved him to the inactive roster, and it's just crazy to me. Yes, they're bringing in Rops. We're going to get to that being officially confirmed. But Spinks is too good to be on anyone's bench. And it's just crazy to me that this has happened. That there wasn't a way to, mitigate things. There wasn't a way to, because he wasn't the problem with Vitality this year in terms of performance. Now, obviously, vibes are a fucking thing, and some players do get mad tilted and triggered if there's a bad teammate there. Not everyone has the kind of professional compartmentalization to just get through and play with an annoying teammate. In fact, I would argue most pro players lack that emotional maturity when it's realistically something you have to do in sports all of the fucking time. But whatever. But I was very, very surprised to see Spinks. And look, you can see they've been like, yeah, thanks for all the memories. You will notice there wasn't really a lot of players coming out and being like, yeah, love you, miss you, legend. It wasn't like Rops at all. Where, by the way, Carrigan must have put out 4 or 5 tweets saying how he's going to miss Rops and loves Rops. And it felt genuine and authentic. Not so much here. So, Spinks inactive. And I believe as of the moment, no one really knows where he's going to go, if anywhere. Crazy to think that Spinks could miss a season. We'll do a wrap-up at the end when we talk about all the players that maybe missed out on ROSTERMANIA. The big one, well, one of the big ones, this is one of the signings of ROSTERMANIA. It's been crazy, but there's been so many big moves. It's making Counter-Strike great again. 2025 is going to be awesome. Open circuit. So Rops goes out, Elige comes in, and you can see that once again, FaZe.
Legend has it that
unbeaten.
FaZe Counter-Strike was cursed ever since winning the major and Cologne, and it's haunted them ever since.
Stones, they were no match for the dark match.
They get these videos out so quick.
So we burned them all.
I wasn't around back then, but they also never really told me what actually happened. Hey, Eddie, when I was signing the contract, it never said anything about being signed for a cursed team.
I know we're cursed. I'm used to it already. It is when it's lunch.
The CS team made a sacred pact. If they won the major, they'd shave their heads. Then, doubled the curse for Cologne. They broke their promise, now the bad luck follows them everywhere. Jason, bro, I'm in the middle of something, man.
I figured it out. I know how to break the curse.
How?
So we know all the greatest athletes use the bald buff, dark magic, to achieve greatness. Normally, you get the magic after going bald, but our CS team used the dark magic on a loan to win and never fully paid the debt. There's a clear connection to receiving good fortune when Brokey goes bald, when Rain and Neil did buzz cuts. But it's just not enough.
Oh, you're cooking.
We need to fully pay back the debt.
Wait, so what should we do?
I posted a job ad for the person we need. Trust me, I know what needs to be done.
Hold on. Well, you did include that they need to be cracked at Counter-Strike, right?
Bald, thrives in chaos, willing to relocate to EU, anywhere in Europe, full-time, expert, pays per round, bald, chill guy, good aim. Okay.
Chill guy, I don't know, but we'll see.
Hi, yeah, I'd like to apply for the job. I saw it on your website. Yeah, I can start immediately.
There you go. Now, look, I'm going to just say this. Like, out of all of these videos, there's like really only like G2 and FaZe that get this shit right. That's good. That's a funny video. Everybody liked it. Viral. People, blah, 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 blah. But also, just the turnaround on it. Super quick. Love it. Awesome. Anyway, he's in. He's in. There was also, let me show you this. There was this tweet. There they are. Just the greatest IGL of all time. Chilling with NA's greatest player. Having some hot pot. Just living the fucking dream. Getting to know Elige really good. He's staying at our place for a few weeks. We've been talking CS 24/7, and you can feel he's really smart about the game. So getting some new cool perspectives about the game. This is what I love about Carrigan. This is why Carrigan is such a fucking G, like such a fucking legend. Like Carrigan doesn't need really any input from Elige, does he? You know, he's like arguably the greatest in-game leader of all time. But what he is doing, you see, is he wants to know what Elige thinks about the game. And he wants to see how that aligns with every other player that he's interviewed and talked about with the game. Because the first thing Carrigan does is he beds a player in, gets to know them. He'll swap a team around so everyone can be comfortable. He'll take on all the shit roles for himself, as he should, because, you know, he is the weakest link mechanically. And then he tries to create a playbook that can accommodate all of the various parts. Now, I don't know if Elige has ever had an IGL that's willing to do that for him, which is probably why Elige has been a bit more mardy in the past and have thought like he's had to fight to get his shit over. He's now with an IGL that is going to factor in the things he needs for a team, and he's playing on a roster that ultimately, there's still some pretty laid-back guys who are just good soldiers, good teammates. If Elige keeps his head on straight, this could be a fantastic opportunity for him. And if FaZe and Carrigan can utilize Elige's talents, if Elige plays to the level he played at in 2024, in 2025, on this FaZe lineup, they will win trophies. That is an absolute given. They were good enough to do it with Rops floundering, and obviously in Shanghai, Frozen had a bit of a nightmare. But anyone saying Frozen is a bad player is a cretin, and that is total recency bias. But Elige, I think, is going to alleviate some of the pressure on Frozen, and I think just going to have a good time and just bet into this team. I said it right at the start of ROSTERMANIA when we knew Rops was leaving. I said, if they can get Elige from Complexity, that's the move I'd do, more than any move. And people were going, but aren't there better roles and aren't there better fits? No. Again, you don't need to stick to roles when you've got a tactical mind like Carrigan. He will make it work. He's got players like Rain. He can just put anywhere. He will play anywhere himself and find a way to make it work. And he will tee up the stars in a lineup to succeed. I think this is 100% the move. This bodes very well for FaZe. This is 2 thumbs up. I love to see this shit. Carrigan and Elige, if they can get simpatico, that is a dangerous pairing. My worry is this is Nico 2.0. And this is Carrigan, once again, giving him all over to a star player that will not appreciate his love or his energy or his efforts. But for now, 2 thumbs up. Love it. Great job. Love to see this. Enjoy the Hot Pot Legends. Right. Next move. We are going to be talking about the great dismantling of Cloud9 in a bizarre photo here. It's just an out of focus handshake from 2 people. It looks like he's pulling his shadow version of himself out of a mirror like that, doesn't it? But whatever. Don't know what's going on there. But this is the confirmation of what was speculated, that Exile and Boomich would be going to Team BetBoom, or Team BB, as they will be called on the open circuit, because even though there's betting sponsors everywhere, and teams named after betting sponsors, BetBoom is the one that we all just abbreviate as a rule. I don't know why that is, but anyway, Team BB. I will occasionally call them Team BBW or BBC or Buffalo Wild Wings. We'll all come up with hilarious things to call them, no doubt. But anyway, Team BB. I suppose we are calling them P-Vision as well, you're right. BB, P-Vision. It's just BBL. Yeah. Anyway, Exile and Boomich are out of Cloud9 and are officially joining BetBoom. BetBoom has obviously been an underachieving, floundering mess, but nowhere near as much as Cloud9 relative to expectations. Nafany got benched, you remember, of course. So this IGL, remember the IGL who famously declared, we don't feel the pressure in stadiums, having never played in a stadium, then proceeded to feel the pressure in stadiums, have his Gambit side start to flop once we got out of the online COVID era, and then hasn't really done a lot since, except get into an argument with Maui, where Maui was absolutely right about Nafany being a pretty much of a one-dimensional IGL. That's certainly how it's panned out. He's now been on all of these teams where things haven't gone right. He's going to have to look inward. He's going to have to change things up. He's still too good to be on the bench, obviously, but given the geopolitical situation that I'm obligated to mention, affecting things, Russians are only going to be playing with Russians, international lineups, and Russians will not be going hand in hand for the foreseeable future, so he needs to find himself on a Russian lineup. And let's be real, there's not a lot of top tier Russian lineups that are going to be able to A, afford him, or B, guarantee he's going to get to top tier tournaments. He could be a long time gone, you never know. Anyway, this is the lineup now. Boomich coming in as an IGL with Exile, and you've got this is the G silent. I never know. Is it Magnajez? I don't know. I never know how to pronounce that one. But anyway, he's like the young player that like people are like, oh yeah, super excited about it. Is that mayonnaise? Whatever. Mango Jazz, right? You've got Zorte. And Siren. Siren obviously has been a bit of a disappointment since going to BetBoom after he came to Spirit Academy and did so well on Spirit in the past. Zorte is the player, obviously, that, like, you know, the star in the team. But now with Exile there, you know, you have to say Bet Boom have done well here. I think this is a couple of good signings. I'm still not sold on Boomich as an IGL. I think it's probably harsh at this time in his career. I think he's more one of those vibes IGLs than a true tactical IGL. But what the fuck do I know? I don't speak Russian, contrary to what people online say about me. And you know, I don't really have any real insight into it, and maybe you can get away with being a vibes IGL if the talent is good enough, and there is some talent on this roster. I always thought Team BB should have been doing better than what they were, but they weren't. Were they limited by Nafani? I don't know, but we're going to find out now. We're going to find out where we get to lay that blame. I'll say this, watch Team BB in 2025. I think they're going to catch a few people by surprise. And as a result, I'm giving this 1 thumbs up. I'd do a half a thumb if I could do it, but you can't. So it's just 1. But it is closer to 1 than 2, but 1.5 would have been ideal. That's what I think. But anyway, good job. NIP continued their restructuring by getting rid of Isak. I almost had a heart attack here because obviously I thought the Newcastle striker had left Newcastle to go to Arsenal. Lol. Should have paid that buyout, by the way, Arteta. Get wrecked. But no, it turned out it was just NIP getting rid of players again. And as we'll get to, not too sure about it. But anyway, not really a lot to get into. You can see here, HLTV put it very succinctly. NIP achieved little of note this decade. NIP achieved little of note during Isak's time with the team, most recently failing to qualify for the Perfect World Shanghai Major. The roster struggled at lesser LAN events like the Elisa Masters Espo, failed to make much headway in Tier 2 online competition, and slid to outside the top 30 of the world ranking during Isak's tenure. So he's gone. Can't really argue with that. Will we ever see him again? Who knows? He didn't have to wait too long for finding a new home because, along with Hampus, he joined Metisport. And you've seen Metisport. Metisport are basically, they're kind of like the new Lemon Dogs in a way. No, are they? I guess that's kind of insulting to the Lemon Dogs legacy, because Lemon Dogs did produce players like fucking Get Right in the day. So yeah, okay, maybe not. They're not like the new Lemon Dogs, but they're this online team for Swedish rejects that actually do better than you think they would. So there's not really, yeah. Google in the chat says they're less Lemon Dogs, more Lemon Party. That might be fair. That might be outrageous. You decide. Don't put that in the VOD, Griff. As in, leave the joke, but don't put up a graphic of old men doing anything. Just don't. It's nice to make money occasionally from a YouTube video, isn't it? Anyway, Hampus is in there. Isak's now in there. Plopski's in there. Lumi's in there. Adam B. Remember Adam B? The prospect? So, I don't know. I mean, put it this way. They've got to go somewhere. They're too good to not play. Hampus and Isak, they should be on teams. So, fair enough. Let them play. But, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up relative to what Metisport are. But I don't think Metisport are going to, be a big upset team in 2025 or anything like that. Now, speaking of total rebuilds, as we were with NIP earlier, Heroic just unveiled their new roster, and it's a weird one. Buckle up, guys. We have X-Floud, the Turkish player not on Eternal Fire. We have Sun Pius, cruelly rejected by Falcons, despite being the statistically best player on Falcons at the time. They decided to reject him. We've got TN1R, Belarusian. We don't talk about that. You've got, remember Linus? Remember LNZ? Rebuilding his life after NIP? And then we've got Youngstar, which is just great because this just looks like an absolute meme. Because this is Simon Youngstar, my longest boy ever. Yeah, boy! Pretty sure you have to say it like that every time. My longest Youngstar boy ever. So, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But yes, I will be doing that, annoyingly, if I ever work another broadcast again, which apparently I am, because I've signed up to all the PGL events. So, if these guys are there, which is a good chance they will be, I will be dropping the yeah boy every time he plays until he gets sick of it. Well, until he earns my respect. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable window of time. Anyway, this was the weird one. TN1R. I just need to show you this so you have like an understanding. Because obviously, look, geopolitical situation that I'm obligated to mention with Russia and Ukraine and all that stuff. Belarus obviously in that weird spot with Russia and right. Oh, just ignore that for a moment. He was on a team called Guns with a 5. He was on them for a while, but that wasn't the one. That wasn't the team I know him from. He was on a Forza lineup, and he just didn't stand out. He didn't do anything. He just didn't do a lot. But now, he's on fucking Heroic, out of nowhere. And, by the way, spoiler, the time of recording this, he had a really good opening map. Looked really good. So, maybe Sora's done it again. But overall, look, it's unthinkable to have the expectation that at short notice, Heroic are going to assemble an international roster that can get back into the world top 10. If anyone has that expectation, that is so unfair, all things considered. However, if they do somehow get back into the top 10, I'll even say top 15 with the teams that are out there right now, that is fucking crazy. That is a crazy achievement. If Heroic are vaguely relevant with this lineup, that is a patchwork team put together at short notice. If they can somehow mold this over 2025 to be competitively relevant, that is an insane achievement. Might not be an achievement that's going to get a lot of attention, but relative to everything that's been going on, it will be an insane achievement. When they went up against 3D Max today, I thought 3D Max were going to beat them based on the 3D Max we saw at the Major. Heroic eked out a victory, but it was fucking close. If that's the level they operate at for the rest of the year, it's still not terrible, all things considered. Sun Pius has got to get his head out his arse, but he has been benched for a long time. Can this guy actually be good? TN1R, who fucking knows? Was today an anomaly? So many variables, very hard to say. So as a result, tentative, shaky hand. We had the official unveiling of Rops at Vitality. Comes in for Spinks. It's a done deal now. I'll play you the little video we got here. Vitality did this. We just signed Counter-Strike. Welcome, Rops.
I've always risen to the top. From top of FPL.
Yeah, that smoke round actually helped him with the Robs, and a great call to the spray is in, and he gets all the kills! No. What even happened?
To the top of the world.
Crumbling as well. Ops is in a huge amount of trouble. He's going to try and take matters into his own hands. Couldn't find the second shot fast enough, but Jax, he drops in! Oh, talk about an Estonian! Talk about a superstar! Rops is on a rope!
Oh, man! Up close, cut down, Rops! 1v1, and it's all on this defuse. Taps it!
But once you think you're at the top, you can always go higher. And now, it's time to take Vitality to new heights.
So, nowhere near as good as the FaZe videos, but a video nonetheless. Rops officially in at Vitality, and it's a good move. I mean, there's no two ways about it, especially if Spinks was causing problems. One thing you probably wouldn't think Rops is going to do is rock the boat. Whatever happened at the end of FaZe, I'll go with his version. I'll believe him that it was a misunderstanding. He didn't really want firepower. He obviously had some problems with the game. He hadn't really adjusted to CS2 after initially adjusting to it better than anyone else. But he's coming in, and if he is what we saw at the end of Shanghai, at the end of 2024, if he is that player, if he's playoff level Rops being slotted in to a Vitality with Ziwu, one of the best players. I mean, he was third. I was very surprised, the HLTV, the way they calculate it all, very surprised he wasn't second, but happy to see it because I think it's fair. I think Munacy was number 2. Siwoo is still one of the best players in the world, one of the best players to touch the game. You've got Flames, for me, the most improved player in World Counter-Strike across 23 to 24. Just ridiculous. His levels of clutch and composure. Mezzi had the dad buff, but watch this space. He is obviously next on the chopping block. And then you bring in Rops. You got a pretty stable team. Vitality, 100% win tournaments in 2025. And realistically, should be major contenders in 2025. For me. I think they had a bit of an underachieving year in 2024. And I think, we can talk about the various names that have that privilege where they're insulated, from that criticism. They should have had a bigger 2024 than they did. 2025, I think they challenge for all the big trophies. They win some big trophies. And as I said, I think realistically, they have to set their sights on Austin with a move like this. So, good move. 2 thumbs up. Can't argue it. Then, it's time. Right, well, Fnatic have been cutting all of their players, so surely what Fnatic are going to do is Fnatic are going to bring in some unbelievable big names and some firepower, and they're going to be Fnatic of old again. They must have found some money somewhere, surely. Well, no. They are signing Fear, right, that we all already talked about. Had a pretty good fragging IGL performance. By the way, that fragging IGL performance, that was the exception and not the rule in Shanghai. So Fear coming in, stepping up to the plate to a big organization, realistically, for the first time in his career. He's going to be working alongside Blame F and Crims. But then we need an AWPer to replace Nork, and they've brought in Bermalov. Now, you won't have seen a lot of him. The last kind of consistent roster he was on was the NXT roster. I don't understand what he did on NXT to be viewed as an AWPing talent, not just worth bringing into a team with tier 1 aspirations, but being brought in to replace an established AWPer like Nork. So I don't know what this is. Like Fear, I'll give that 1 thumbs up. But if the price of a 1 thumbs up Fear getting a shot at having big name players around him is you have to bring in another Ukrainian, and you bring in a junior Ukrainian AWPer who was the worst rated player on Mouse NXT, doesn't have any tier 1 experience. No one was talking about this guy. There wasn't anyone going, oh, this Bermalov guy's on the... No one was... He wasn't one of those names. More people were hyping up Ultimate behind the scenes than this guy. So... And Ultimate, everyone was like, oh, wow, this kid's a revelation. Where did they find this guy? So I don't know. If the price of Fear is you got to have Bermalov, I do not know about it. I can go 1 thumbs up for Fear, but it's definitely at least 1 thumbs down for Bermalov, especially when you consider you're cutting Nork, who's established, for something completely unproven. And let's all just talk about as well, Fnatic hyping up these moves. Like, wait until you see what we're doing. We're cooking in the kitchen. Well, what you've done is, once again, you've served up an international lineup of disparate parts of unproven talent, and you have put those parts alongside a player who must now realize he's in hell. Blame F must now realize what I said when I did my video, and I said, don't do it, Ben. Don't join Fnatic. This is the worst move you can possibly make in your fucking career. He must realize it now that he should have listened, but that's fine. Not everyone does. I said to Bubsky, be careful joining Astralis. Lost his whole playing career and now can't even be a fucking analyst. What a waste. Sometimes you just have to listen to the old heads. And obviously, I don't know, Crims must just be the most checked out player in the world. Checked out in more way than one, like pay checked out. He must not give a fuck. How could you give a fuck? Think about the lineups he's played in historically and the things he's achieved in the game. And then it's like you wake up like, beep, 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 beep. Your alarm clock's going off. Bosh. He turns off the alarm clock and he like opens his eyes and he thinks, oh, it's going to be great to see Olaf and Flusher and Pronax today. I can't wait to hang out with the guys. And oh no, and then the nightmare, the fabric of his brain, like, reintegrates with the reality, with the timeline. Oh no. No, it's the day I have to wake up and listen to Fear tell me how to play, and maybe Matties is gonna fucking... Oh, God, no. Just don't think about it, Crims. Stoic. And then he goes in. Who could be asked? Who could be asked giving their all to a Fnatic lineup that have just given up? Like, Fnatic is an org of just giving up. They're just giving up. Across the board, they just don't care. I imagine they're probably so desperate for a buyer. I bet they're just so hoping and praying some big conglomerate wants to come in and buy the Fnatic name. How sad it is to see one of the greatest brands in esports history busted like this. And as I said, come the fuck on. See, Dust in the chat is right. Why don't you get Jambo? Jambo, if Passion are selling their players and Fear's coming, Jambo, great hybrid player, put up decent numbers in Shanghai. We were all joking about it. Jambo Unchained, all of this stuff. Why didn't you just get him as well? But no, it really suggests that if they spent any money on Fear at all, it was all they had. And they've gone all in on Fear, who is still, it's got to be said, unproven. And you've done that, and you brought in Bummy Love. Bummy Love. So, I don't know, man. Bummerlov is not the answer. But, look, I've been wrong before. We'll see. I just don't understand how the worst player on NXT can somehow do a job on Fnatic. So, we will see. We will see. Speaking of underwhelming rosters being finalised, remember how we speculated about Big? And I was like going, you know what? Big, you should go international. That's the answer. Now's the time. You'll speak English anyway. There's loads of players in free agency. Don't let the Rigon thing put you off it, even though he speaks German anyway. Like, actually, just go international. International lineups are thriving. They're working. No. Or should I say, nein, gar nichts, said Big. They decided they were going to pick up, once again, the remnants of German talent. Hyped having his second spell because he's the big academy player. And QB, if you remember him, who was at Fnatic, and they brought him in, and we all said, what's QB going to do? And then QB did nothing and then got benched. Big are now bringing him in. Like, I just don't understand it. I've said it a million times. You all... Is there something in the sponsorship deals that you have to have 5 Germans or 5 German speakers? Like, I just can't. Guys, it's like, you all speak English. Come on. You're all doing interviews in English. Come on. Like, I have never seen a player more content to have their career pan out in utter mediocrity. Like, it's so crazy. Like, Tabson was so good back in the day. Could have been on a phase, could have been on a national lineup, just on the merits of his play. Became the IGL. I'll just run a big project forever, yeah? I'll just have a job for life and never win anything. But I have a job for life. I don't know how you make that choice when you were as good as he was. Like, obviously, kind of washed now, so it's academic. But, Jesus. QB did fuck all on Fnatic. Hyped as an academy player who's been on big before, and there's a reason he went back to the academy team. They did nothing across 2024. This would be an Overwatch fart noise if they hadn't got rid of Searson, because that fraud had to go. But it's just so underwhelming. There's so many better players that just happen to not be German in free agency that you could have. But Big, they're going to keep doing this, aren't they? It's just Big. It's just, we are German. Just fucking terrible. Anyway, 2 thumbs down. Or, Scheiße. So bad. G2 confirmed that their 5th is going to be the Heavy God. I just love looking at Heavy Gods. I love that he is this man who looks like he's a 50-year-old darts player who works doorman shifts on the weekends to supplement his income. But in reality, he's like a fucking 22-year-old. like a 22-year-old youngster. Like, man, that's crazy. Now, I've already said you could have dropped Hunter as well and brought in Spinks, and I would have liked the lineup. But whatever. We're going to do this, I guess. So, I like Heavy God. I think he's a sick player. Definitely think coming off Cloud9, we're going to talk about Cloud9 at the end. Definitely think he's landed on a really good roster where he's going to get to showcase his talents, which I'm happy about. I think in terms of just raw numbers and production, he's going to put up the numbers. The question always becomes, with G2, who's going to provide the X factor now? And it's like, yes, the X factor is m0NESY for the 6 months or whatever he's left on this roster before he does join Falcons, and Dexter goes, what the fuck did I do? But outside of that, Malbs has a little bit of X factor in him, but I don't know. It's tough. I want G2 to be good, as I said, because I really like m0NESY and I like Malbs, and I want my old friend Taz to do well. Anyway, why don't we watch their little video of looking ahead to 2025.
Hey guys, I'm sure many of you have been wondering about how our roster will look like ahead of 2025. More specifically, who will be replacing Nico. Before we get into that, we've added a new player, Heavy God, to the team, who will be taking over anchor roles from Malbs. We are super excited to start working with him, and we feel like he will be a great fit. With that said, unfortunately, we will be moving Malbs to the bench.
What the fuck?
Heavy God. They don't know about it yet, but now they learn about it. Oh, 2 quick kills. Heavy God's on a 10. Look at it. Look at the angle he's got. Look at what he's got to play with, man. And then he's just following it up with this.
Upon further consideration, we've decided to move Malbs back to the starting lineup, replacing Nico.
So, it's good banter. Obviously, they couldn't get Heavy God in the video in time. And that's just because there hasn't been a lens constructed that can capture him in all of his fucking glory. What a giant man. But anyway, overall, I like the move. It's the move that was on the table that could be made. There's obviously argumentation about whether or not you could have maybe brought Spinks in over Heavy God, or they could have made more of a play for Nerds, or whatever it might have been. But ultimately, I like this move. I think Heavy God is going to do well in G2, and it's 1 thumbs up for me. It's just a shame ultimately that instead of this being like Heavy God comes in for like Hunter, or Spinks comes in for Hunter, and we have Nico, m0NESY, and then all of the core, and Snacks has really got a chance to prove himself, and maybe they can actually go and get that major together. It's just happened the way that it's happened. So it's sad. It's a solid thumbs up. It's a good move. We will see. One of the jewels everyone was hoping to catch in ROSTERMANIA was JimFat from Mouse. And it looked, by all accounts, he was gone. Now remember, the rumours were he was going to Falcons. It was meant to be a done deal. But apparently that verbal done deal was contingent on m0NESY going. m0NESY wasn't able to go. I saw like some absolute nonsense on Reddit going, m0NESY decided not to go. No. The org just simply didn't sell him. That's how that went. I'm pretty sure m0NESY would have followed Nico out the door if he had the opportunity. But anyway, for Jimmy to then not go to Falcons on the basis of, if I'm not playing in the super team, I'm staying with my homies, it might be hard to walk back some of the things that have been said behind the scenes and may be done. But then again, the Finnish are a stoic people. Maybe there weren't any high emotions. Maybe there wasn't any craziness. Maybe it was just as simple as one day he came in and said, I think I might leave. And everyone went, all right, Jimmy, nice one, mate. And then one day he came back and he just went, I think I'm staying now. All right, Jimmy, wicked. See you on the server, mate. It might have just been like that. So who fucking knows? But the bottom line is he signed a contract. I hope also in signing a contract, he's been able to leverage a bigger salary for himself, because across 2024, he absolutely deserved a bump in pay if he was going to stay. This is a player that was a star from the anchor position that everyone says, oh, no, the anchor, yeah, Richard, you can't can't say anchors should have good stats. Yeah, you don't understand the game. You don't even want. And then it's like Jimmy just comes along, and once again, the role cells all in shambles. Yeah, apparently you can just carry a team from that position, kind of like Fnatic used to do with players that just absolutely lock down shit on CT side. It can be done. Jimmy is that guy, and he is a fucking delight to watch in that position, and has done mega work for Mouse in the top 20 players this year. And so when you retain a top 20 player that everybody thought was going to leave, that's almost like making a signing in and of itself, because you didn't lose all of that talent that you were then going to have to scramble to replace ahead of getting all your team registrations in. So this is really, really good news for Mouse. I'm excited to see Mouse keep going moving forward. I really want them to get more tournaments under their belt in 2025. They can't keep being called the youngsters, the upstarts. That's over now. 2025, Mouse are an established team that didn't change lineup in ROSTERMANIA. This is when you hit motherfuckers hard. This is when you come out, all the other teams are learning, trying, experimenting, betting in new players, lamenting, oh, please, I miss you, Nico, all of this stuff. This is basically when G2 used to win tournaments, when everyone else was weak and fucked up and they could get away with having Hooksy on the lineup. That's how G2 historically won their tournaments, either side of a player break. That's when you do it. We're coming out of ROSTERMANIA. Mouse haven't changed a fucking thing. They were having playoff runs at the major prior to that. You must win tournaments in 2025. It's as simple as that. There are no more excuses. No more, oh, but they get blinded by the lights. That's all whack. That's bullshit now. There's no excuses. You've retained your best player. It's time. It's time to win tournaments, Mouse. So we will see. But anyway, this was great. And they even did a video. Look, no more rumors, they said.
Hey guys, it's Jimmy here.
By the way, you always have to love. Okay, we're gonna put someone from Finland on camera, right? Go, give us all the raw emotion, give us the passion, show us what you've been feeling during this tumultuous time.
Hey guys, it's Jimmy here. I have a big announcement to make for you. Against all the rumors, I decided to extend my contract with Mouse. I'm here to stay. Why? There is many reasons for that, but most importantly, it's because I feel really comfortable, and especially working around such a young group who are always working around the same goal as me, it feels really amazing. There will be coming out another interview where I will more deeply talk about my decision and why did I make it exactly. I'm really excited to work for this year again, because there will be a lot of good tournaments, and right now we are here at Mouse HQ. We are starting the year off with a nice bootcamp, and yeah, thank you guys.
Finland.
Are we done yet?
There it is.
And when are we getting these razor chairs at home?
Finland. I love the Finns. They just don't fuck about. You just know where you're at. You know, when they're sober, they're introverted. When they're drunk, they're outrageously extroverted, and they spend 50% of their lives buck naked. What more could you want from a people? Got to love the Finns. But anyway, there he is. So he is staying. And this for me, this might conceivably be the biggest shock of ROSTERMANIA. Actually, that he stayed. Because, look, best will in the world, Mouse are... they don't have a lot of money. They've got success by doing the unthinkable, and that is by training academy players to be good to the point where their entire lineup was essentially academy players. It doesn't happen in CS. Most orgs don't have the patience for that. They don't scout well enough. They don't get the talent. So what they've done is close to a miracle. They're one of the best run orgs in the world. But can you offer big salaries? And what Jimmy had the option to do, Jimmy could have been a bag chaser. Could have gone to Falcons and just said, fuck it, I don't care if you have money or not. I'll play with Nico, that's good enough for me. I'll let those guys do my head in. He didn't go. Could have finagled a move into G2 maybe. You know, certainly there were options there for him. He's that good. He's an upgrade to almost every anchor that's playing right now. And so, for him to stay, I think it's a statement. It's a win. It's a huge win. It's 2 thumbs up. Levels of winning. You take the thumbs and you push them together and you extend a little bit here and you get a W out of it. That's how fucking good it is. So I'm happy he's going to stay at Mouse. But if you don't win trophies, you're not going to keep him. And you're going to have to look at your career and think, could I have actually had more in 2025? Paravision. There were rumours. What was their lineup going to be? Well, it turns out, here it is. It's Belchanok. Right, he's still there. Kickett, our old friend. Travis, not that one. Nota, and now James. And you want to know what the best part about this lineup is, guys? James isn't the IGL. Kickett is going to be the IGL of this team. It was confirmed today that James isn't going to be the IGL. That's what's being said. Fucking go look it up for yourself. I think there's an interview on Reddit that confirms this. He apparently, Kickett is going to be the IGL. James is just going to be an AWPer. And let me tell you, that is the play. That is the play. I don't want to call it a fall off or a drop off or a crash out or whatever fucking term the kids are using this week. Because is it? Let's be real. When, at the end of CSGO, when it was dog shit, and everyone knows that it was dog shit, and it was just, the games were boring, the meta was stale, the teams were so fucking checked out, people were, once CS2 was available, people were splitting their time. James was the architect of finding a way within that meta to win ugly with players that weren't that good and didn't deserve to win majors. But he did it. He did it. It was an IGL. It was like some fucked up Moneyball mathematical nightmare, what he brought. It wasn't Counter-Strike as you know it. It was gash. It was terrible to watch. It was all the rounds, overtimes, but he won a major off the back of that. And to that, even though it was the worst fucking major I've ever watched, because at least, like, London was a shit show in terms of organisation, but at least it had some good games. Every day you had to wake up knowing you had to watch Virtus Pro again, and that was hard. Those were the days you start drinking a little bit earlier than you want to. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, ask your dad. And so you got to tip your hat. I respect tacticians that find ways to win games and win games ugly by playing to the strengths of their team. I've always respected it. This is why this is a real deep reach, and a lot of you are going to go, what? Who are they? But it's why I always liked Wimbledon in the Premier League. I used to love Wimbledon, the Crazy Boys. They were a fucking shit team that played long ball football, kicked the fuck out of the opposition. They were doing it before Stoke with Pulis. They were doing it before Bolton with Allardyce. And they were just fucking, they got 7th in the Premier League one year. I think they just missed out on Europe with a squad of journeymen. That was with Joe Kinnear and then later on Eggle. What was his name? The mad Norwegian cunt they hired and they burnt his wellies on day one. Anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, I respected that team in the same way I had a begrudging respect for Stoke and what have you, because they found ways to win despite being shit, despite being inferior to their opposition. And what it said about their opposition was, we can adapt to you, but you can't adapt to us. And that's how Virtus Pro won a major. The problem was, CS2 happens. And then all those numbers in James' fucking head, all those plans, all those machinations, they suddenly don't work. And what we were left with Virtus Pro, even as they changed lineups, we were left with a team that played ugly, drew out all of the rounds, still, but lost consistently. And it was predicated on James' style of play. And him always wanting to have an AWP, and him being willing to sacrifice other players' economy in a heavy rifling game so he can have an AWP and he can have his game. Now, I don't know why he couldn't adapt or adjust, but the reality is he couldn't adapt or adjust, and anybody that said he had to adapt or adjust, it turns out you weren't long for this world. You weren't long for the team. You couldn't criticize him. I said Virtus Pro, at the end of Virtus Pro, it became a fucking vanity project. And remember, when they added electronic, oh shit, they've got a real firepower now, oh shit. Did nothing. And he was the leader the whole time. So he had to go. And that's why I think it's hilarious that Overdrive missed a finger on the pulse when he was doing his, oh, I can get lots of clout in ROSTERMANIA after publicly saying I won't do leaks and speculations anymore. I will only post confirmed news. He then said, Virtus.pro were going to sell electronic. And then Jane goes, and they keep electronic. So, great job there. You had a coin toss, and you lost. Jane had to go. He's been a problem the whole time. Virtus.pro are only going to get better in his absence. But now that he's at Paravision, I was like, oh, don't let him just build a worse version of Virtus.pro. Like, fuck me. No. No, the evil. The evil must be vanquished. And lo and behold, he's not going to be the IGL. He is now but a player. He is going to have to learn again what it is to not be a golden child. A golden calf that cannot be sacrificed. Right? He's going to have to learn how to just play as a good AWPer and play in this meta and be CS2. And I'm hoping he can do it. Am I backing him? I wouldn't go that far, but I'm hoping he can do it. Nominally, I like Jane, the person that does the interviews, the thinker of the game, the content creator. But the IGL, I fucking detest. His approach to the game is so antithetical that you can only get away to what Counter-Strike is. You can only get away with it when you're winning. And then I'll begrudgingly respect it. Once you start losing every fucking day, you have to fucking change it up. And he never did. And this is why, instead of being on Virtus.pro, playing with Electronic, and like saying, oh, you be the IGL, and I'll just play or whatever, and we'll do it your way. Instead of doing that, you're now on fucking Paravision. So, food for thought there. Anyway, overall, though, Paravision, P-Vision, whatever they're going to call them, you know what? They've done all right there. And 2 thumbs up for not letting Jane be your IGL. Please stick to that. Please. No matter how bad it gets. Please. Please. Right. This was a surprise. Remember Brovid19, the world's fittest and sickest player, depending on what Astralis need at any given moment in time. Too sick to play a blast. Too fit to not play for device. Who fucking knows? But anyway, Bro comes in to checks notes NRG and replaces Breezy. Now look, let's be real. That move has had to happen for ages. Breezy, just do the Valorant thing now, if you can. I mean, has that window closed on you? I don't know. But this, from where you were to where you are now, you know, getting replaced by Bro is probably, again, it's food for thought, isn't it? It's something to think about. You know, not everyone can stay there. And so NRG have brought in Bro. I don't really know what he's going to add to this team. I mean, I will say this. At least he's 22, but he's not shown me anything. He's not shown me he's going to immediately jump in there. Now, what I will say is, based on the players he's going to be playing regionally, I'm assuming he's going to be moving out to the US, which is a great opportunity for a young player to see the world. So congrats on that, and definitely take those opportunities in life where you can. I mean, he's probably going to look really good against some of the NA players and Brazilian players he's going to be playing against. No doubt about that. But equally as well, is he already in the players' graveyard by going to NA at 22? And if so, I mean, do you know how, like, in countries where, like, you know, they have these huge memorials to, like, people who die in wars, and sometimes, like, you don't even get their body back, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have these, like, memorials for all the people that, like, died in the Somme, in like World War One, because they just sank into the mud and we never even found their bones, right? When are we going to build a monument like that for all the young players Astralis have fucking sacrificed to whatever dark gods they worship? We need one. We're there. Like, I'm just going to be there with like one tear running down with my hand on it, like, oh God, never forget. Never forget. Just crazy. Just another player gone. He's like, Astralis, why? But anyway, surely he can only improve NRG. Surely, right? So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up, not just for Bro coming in, but also Breezy going out. It was time. Cloud9 also parted way with Inters. Remember Inters? He's just gone. Gone where? Nobody knows. He's just out. And there you go. And this is what I mean about, like, just lazy bullshit. Like, it was great to have you back. Pleasure to work with you. We wish you nothing but luck in your future endeavors. Thank you, Inters. Bye. Gone. No video. No highlights. no explanation, no plans. Cloud9 have turned into a fucking joke. Like, I've got to say it. I've always had a pretty decent relationship with Jack down the years. We respect each other, you know, don't always agree. I lost a lot of respect for the org in how they handled bringing in the Russian players at a time when no one else was even doing deals with Russians. It felt almost borderline predatory what they did to Gambit. I thought it was very unfair. But certainly, you know, as I said, when those North American orgs start crying, and why can't we have a winning team? Everyone has to give them their way all of the time because they're Americans. But I got to say, like, just the lack of effort about the way they've dismantled this roster. Like, put it this way. Do you remember the days when they were making roster changes and you'd have Jack usually, but like if not, maybe a coach. Somebody would do a video on Cloud9. It was like a religious thing. You would just fucking always know where they were. Jack would always be there, public facing, super whatever happened to those years in Cloud9? Like, what happened? What happened to Cloud9? Just crazy. Like, am I mentally ill? Right? I guess the answer is yes. But, so let's be clear. Okay, let's be clear about Cloud9's handling of CS. Okay? They put together the Colossus, as it turned out. They brought in Kassad and Henry G and said, let's build a team. And we've got to build a team super quick. And we've got the money to spend. And let's do it differently. Let's be transparent. Let's build a roster. This is all happening while COVID is kind of percolating. They go out, they build a team that didn't even get to meet each other, a team where the coach and the IGL didn't get along, and the coach, Kassad, pieced out super early into the project. They had one player playing from Turkey on, like, crazy ping in the online games, and they were all trying to get to, like, have a boot camp. The boot camp, I think, was the first time they met each other, and I don't even think everyone was at the boot camp because of the travel restrictions due to COVID. Henry said, we're going to Flashpoint, back when their roster was easily the best Flashpoint team, and he said, we're going to win Flashpoint. And then immediately, as soon as he said that, about 4 teams that were higher than them in the world rankings signed up to Flashpoint. And then winning that was going to be really hard. They had an okay run there. Then they go to Pro League. And they've got like Na'Vi in their group and a bunch of other stuff. They nearly get out of that group. On the day they failed to get out the group, Cloud9 just said, yeah, this is over. And that team hadn't even been, it was like 6-7 months during COVID. So after that, Cloud9 cut everyone, fuck all your jobs, fuck all your contracts, fuck all the money we spent, fuck seeing out the vision, fuck all the stuff we talked about, talking a good game about how we're committed to the vision, and then they shuttered, and they did it cynically, and they said, we're going to wait and see what happens with COVID and the money, but we are always here because Counter-Strike is part of our identity. Remember, we fluked that major in Boston, didn't we? Right? And it's okay, all right. We'll see what they do. When there's an invasion of another country that turns the invading country rightly into global pariahs, and the world of esports lurches from no politics in esports, mate, and we all love each other here, to let's ban all the Russians, in that mad scrambling confusion of economic sanctions and sponsors like pulling out from Russian teams being told there'll be travel restrictions on them in real life, irregardless of whether they support the war or not. And I never met a pro player that, well, I know exactly of one player that certainly does support the Russian state, but most players I've talked to find what happened abhorrent, appalling. They've got Ukrainian friends, Ukrainian family, they're cosmopolitan, they like to travel, they hate what's happening but can't say anything because they go to prison. So they then are under all of this pressure to basically go to prison. Why don't you just go to prison, lol? Like, why shouldn't we ban you? In all of this confusion, Gambit is essentially on the ropes financially. They were never the most strongest team financially anyway. And for some reason, all of their players, their image rights and contracts are with a Norwegian talent agency called the Ulti Agency, which just so happens to be able to negotiate a deal in quiet with Cloud9 for them to sign the players, so we circumnavigate the problematic nature of the money going from Cloud9 to a Russian entity. So did Gambit at any point get money? Because we know $3 million was how much it cost. Interesting. So nobody said anything about that, by the way. Publicly, everyone went, yay, Cloud9's back, isn't it cool? Super happy for the Russian players on Gambit that they're getting a chance to play for this American organization full of prestige and da-da-da-da-da. They have then proceeded to serve up mediocre slop after iteration after iteration after iteration after iteration, without any public inquiry, without any member of management or the C-suite coming out and talking about how they're going to do better and trust the process. And this is all predicated on the fact that Jack thinks Groove is a fucking genius. Then they flop at Shanghai and Groove comes out and says, we did the bare minimum, so it is okay. We did bare minimum. You've been doing bare minimum for 3 fucking years on a move that cost millions, continued to cost millions as other Russian players found their way into the lineup somehow, did absolutely nothing the whole time, and now they've sold their entire team, except Perfecto, who we'll talk about in a moment, and they've kept fucking Groove. I know, I mean, as I said, we are getting to, again, not NIP levels, not Astralis levels, not EG levels, but if we were to create a top 10 list of orgs that in CS have been run to the point of ridiculousness, run into the ground, inexplicable decision after inexplicable decision, Cloud9 are knocking on the door of the top 5. It's actually fucking crazy how expensively shit they've been. And all the bullshit and fuckery they did to have this. And Groove rides again, does he? I don't know, man. That's fucking wild to me. So, Cloud9 haven't communicated what they're going to do. And so, is Cloud9 even still in CS? Are they shuttering again? Is that why Groove is still there? Or are they rebuilding a team? Or what's going on? Why haven't you said? This is why I detest fans, esports fans in general, but particularly the esports fans of the big organization. Like right now, Cloud9 are disrespecting you, dickheads. Where are the threads? Like, what's going on? Why aren't you on the official Cloud9 subreddit? Jack, tell us what's going on. This is what the TSM fans did to Reggie. You're just not saying anything about it. This is meant to be one of your signature games outside of League of Legends. You've had 3 years, well, technically more than 3 years, of failure. Realistically, what have you done since Boston? And they're not talking to you. They're not telling you what's going on. When the player leaves, it's like, here's just a fucking Photoshop that we've knocked up in 5 minutes. See ya. It's ridiculous. And I'll talk about Perfecto right at the end, because we're going to wrap up the end of the roster moves. But just absolutely fucking farcical how bad Cloud9 have been run. And I am astounded that more people aren't bothered by him, bothered by the way this has been run, aren't like coming out in uproar. So whatever. In fact, actually, while we're just on this screen, yeah, and Perfecto, apparently like Overdrive came out and fucking kicked the shit out of him today by saying Perfecto had lots of offers, but he turned them all down and he was waiting for something big and then it didn't materialize. That could just be another thing he pulled out of his arse, like when he said like about G2, oh, Nico and Hunter just want it to be their friends. And then they went, what the fuck are you talking about? We didn't even pick up Nexa. And he went, sorry, I just speculated and did not make it clear. I won't do that again, and then proceeded to do it again. By the way, Reddit's favourite journalist. Wicked. So, Perfecto is good enough to be on a team, should be on a team. Amazed he's not on a team. I actually assume he is going to work his way into something. It's just obviously, again, geopolitical situation that I'm obligated to mention. He has to go to a Russian team. So he'll end up on like an Aurora or a Paravision. I guess he's just winding his contract down at this point. But probably Cloud9 should just let him go. It isn't even worth the salary, is it? You don't have a team. You're not interested. I don't know what their next project's going to look like. I mean, put it this way. The rumor is right now, TSM are looking to build some like shitty NA team, throw an NA team together and just hope through regionality they can maybe fluke their way into Austin. But I don't know. I just don't know what Cloud9 are doing, and Cloud9 aren't communicating. But for a team that fired a bunch of people and said, we will absolutely be back because Counter-Strike is in our DNA, I don't know about this DNA, homie. This is fucking... This needs some gene therapy, you feel me? So, we'll see. We will see. And that should bring it up to... oh, yeah, and someone in the chat just said there for that last bit. Apparently Perfecto said Overdrive just pulled that out of his ass again. I don't know how many more chances people are going to give him, but I remember when I refused to give private journalistic sources to Reddit moderators on the League of Legends subreddit because they wanted to vet my sources, my anonymous sources. That was one of the catalysts towards my work being banned on the subreddit. Overdrive continually pulls shit out of his arse, gets called out for it, and even admits sometimes, yeah, that was just wild speculation on my part, my bad. Don't take everything I say to be trustworthy. Mods care about that at all, do they? We're still posting Harumi in 2025. Like, I think I'm actually going to have to do it in 2025, guys. I think I've got to make the fake leak account. Get popular, get posted on Reddit, use all my Reddit burners to manipulate it. And everyone goes, oh, wow, this guy's good. And I'm just guessing the whole time. And then I'm going to turn around and go, you're all fucking morons. It's ridiculous how stupid this is. But anyway, we can leave it there. There'll be one or two little stragglers. Maybe some of the other players that we talked about might end up places. Maybe there will be some news about Cloud9. We've got Cloud9 waiting in the wings. We got Perfecto. One I didn't talk about, which I'll talk about on Big Head. No Simple. No Simple. Again, we've made it into the start of the 2025 season. Literally Blast Bounty starting today. Simple not on a roster. Just still on the bench. Where's he? Like, he can't just... This can't maintain. This just cannot be the way forward. I just don't know what's happening. I don't know where he's going to end up. I mean, he cannot sit 2025 out. It's as simple as that. It's like the second full year of the new emerging game. This is where everything's going to get refined and dialed down. Meta's going to get figured out. Players are going to be established. There's no more room for anomalies. This is it. So, I don't know. It surely cannot end like this. So... hopefully, he's going to get attached to something. Again, I don't know what that would look like right now. Obviously, he could go to an NA lineup. He could... I mean, could he go to Liquid for a third time? Could he replace Ultimate on short notice? I mean, maybe. There's just got to be a way out. There has to be a way out of the Na'Vi bench. I did see a Reddit thread, by the way, where everyone was going, Na'Vi are keeping him in contract jail, and that's disgraceful. It's like, fuck off. Fuck off. And then there was Simple made Na'Vi was another comment in that thread. It's like, nah. That's revisionist history. That cannot be allowed to stand. No one corrected them, of course. So, that is it now. That's ROSTERMANIA, essentially. It's over. I said it was going to be a crazy one. It's so crazy. It spanned 3 YouTube videos, totaling, like, 8 hours of content. It's, like, mental. Might even be closer to 9. I don't know how we ended up like that. Just is what it is. It was always going to go mental after we've had the esports winter, a period of consolidation, a new game, big opportunities, expansion into new territories. You've got Falcons out there. They're probably responsible for 50% of all ROSTERMANIA moves, aren't they? They're just crazy. And that's where we're at. But it's all done and dusted now. We have to sit back and watch Blast Bounty. I mean, Katowice is in 18 days. This calendar is just going to come out and kick your fucking teeth in. And then after that, it's Cluj-Napoca in a month from now. As of this stream, I'm going to be there. I'm negotiating my contract. I'm getting it done. So back to Cluj-Napoca after like 10 years. The return. But anyway, that is ROSTERMANIA.